Can I have a mover and a second to open the meeting? Councillor Potier, Councillor Framboise.
Moved by Councillor Potier and seconded by Councillor Laframboise. Be it resolved, the Council for the Corporation of the Municipality of St. Charles hereby opens the special meeting of Council at 6 p.m. on March 31, 2026.
All those in favor? Carried. All of council is present. We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Robinson Huron Treaty Territory, and the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Atikameksheng Anishinaabe. We also wish to recognize our neighboring community of Doki's First Nation. While we meet today, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous people and their culture. Can I have a mover and a seconder to adopt the agenda? Councillor Loftus, Councillor Lachance.
Moved by Councillor Loftus and seconded by Councillor Lachance. Be it resolved that the agenda for the special meeting of Council held March 31, 2026 be adopted as presented.
All those in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest, Councillor Framboise.
None, Your Worship.
Councillor Loftus.
None, Your Worship.
Councillor Potier.
None, Your Worship.
Councillor Lachance.
None, Your Worship.
And none for myself. Any announcements by council?
None for myself.
None that I see. Okay. We move right into the body of our meeting today, which is item 3.1.1, the budget. And Pamela will take it away.
Okay, so welcome to the budget for 2026. So as per usual, we're gonna do an update of projects from last year. And then we're gonna go through each department's budget. And then we're gonna highlight any changes within the budget. You have all the itemized line items in your binder, but over here on the presentation is just gonna be the summary. We're gonna go through capital projects. We're gonna discuss the annual repayment limit because that is becoming a potential issue. So we'll go through that. We'll have the reserve summary where we talk about what we put in, what we're taking out, so we know where we are at the end of the year. We'll do a breakdown of the taxes based on services so you can see where your money is going. And then some cost saving suggestions that staff has proposed. So this is just to put out that we do a cash only budget, so we don't include amortization in our budget. We don't account for that. We are a cash only budget. So it's just something that I need to declare when presenting our budget. So this is the capital project update. So the first 6 items are contributions that we placed into reserves. So as you can see that we've completed all of those. The columbarium, we had budgeted 60,000 last year. It was completed and it was under budget. We were able to do it for 49,000. The strategic plan, the finalization of the strategic plan was $35,000 left. We were under budget. We did it for 32,337.30. The storage containers for the Public Works cold storage, we did not complete. The Public Works dome that's supposed to go over on top of those storage containers was not completed. The fire hall water reserve and washroom upgrades, portion of that was completed in 2025. As you know, the final portion is being completed right now. Replacement of the F550 with plow and sander, that was complete. Originally we budgeted 100,000 and we don't have the plow or sander and we're over budget by $7,610.87. We replaced the Western Star. Originally we budgeted 370. It was completed over budget 388,407.74. We replaced the fire department forest truck, budgeted 87, over budget 90,776.14. Added a lift gate to the new Public Works truck. That was not completed. Arena dehumidifier, that was not completed. We did tender it out. We awarded the tender. The supplier was unable to meet the commitment, so we were unable to get it this year. So we're doing it in 2026. Victoria, Cluche, and Northland Road were budgeted for gravel resurfacing. We did not get Northland Road done. We did the other two. Shank Road turnaround, that was completed. The splash pad gazebo, we got a grant to beautify the park area. So that was completed. And it was ordered and it'll be installed this year. The emergency preparedness grant, this was to change all of our radios from analog to digital. That was completed. That was over budget. Contingency reserve, as council remembers, we placed $20,000 into the contingency reserve for the OPP increase to kind of help alleviate this year. So that was done, and then we did the balance of the west and east engineering on the village roads. So that is the capital project updates from 2025. Did you want me to do the presentation in full and ask questions, or ask questions as we go?
I think ask questions as we go, because otherwise we get lost.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the project updates?
I just have one for, I'm not sure if it was in the capital project, the Sawmill Bay Park, the 20,000 that we received as a grant, is that used up for the sawmill?
So there was a lot of work that was done last year. It was not completed, and we have some for this year to complete, to widen the ramp to get into the water. But I believe there was a bunch of work done last year.
And was it like the 20,000 used?
So in the budget, it was in the budget for 2024. It was not in the budget for 2025. I know that it went forward in 2025, so we're gonna have to come to council and ask where to get that money from. There was a few projects that went through in 2025 that no funding was allocated originally. So I have to go back to council and ask where to take that from. But
Because I think it was the IMP donation?
yeah, so it was the international plowing match, so we received in 2024, and we had it in the budget for 2024. We were gonna do the 2 locations, but then council agreed to focus on the 1 location, and then that environmental study kind of prevented us from doing any work in 2024. And then in 2025 was when we were able to do it, but it wasn't allocated in 2025.
So it's still floating somewhere?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions before I continue? Okay. So this is just our highlights that we go through every year. Again, assessments haven't changed since 2016. I know that the province they're re-engineering the whole way that they evaluate. So until that is done, MPAC has decided to hold off on the assessments because it might all change. So everything's still frozen at the 2016 prices. With 0% growth, we would receive $3,395. So again, if we were to keep everything the same, we would only receive $3,395. In order to balance this budget, we needed $3,408,451. So that represents an overall 7.7% increase. And in dollar value, that represents $271,878. So this is just a tax impact summary that we have every year, kind of saying where the taxes are coming from based on all the different classifications. So that's just information for you to view, just so that we see where they're coming from. And then this kind of breaks down an average. Okay, so again, this is average. This is if everybody's houses were valued the same, this is where the taxes will come. I do want to point out, in commercial, you'll see that it's a negative value. That's because the arena, after the lawsuit has been finished, it has actually switched back over to the ownership of the municipality, which we're an exempt property. Before, we would be charging the owner at that time, right? But we would also have that line item of the tax write-off, because obviously we charged $30,000 of taxes and we had a tax write-off of $30,000 because we knew that we were never going to collect that money. Now the value of the commercial properties has decreased because there is no longer that value of the arena. It's now an exempt property, not a commercial property. Okay. So this is just a summary of the revenues. Every division is kind of in here. So we'll go into it in more detail when we go into each division, but this is just a summary. of your revenues, and then again, a summary of your expenses. And again, these are just the same numbers that you're gonna see on each slide for each division. Anybody have any questions before we get into each division? Or department, sorry. Okay. So council, so municipal logo rebrand increased by increased to $10,000. So in the budget last year, we had $5,000. We did not complete that project. I would also like to create a reserve called a work in progress reserve. So anything that wasn't completed in 2020 or in the previous year would go into that reserve, and then it would come out this year so that you're not double taxing. So we put 5,000 in last year. So we increased it to 10. So really it's only costing an additional 5. One of the reasons why we increased it, when we came to council, when we originally had this idea, we were going to do a community-based contest. We had approached council. Council kind of talked about their wish for more of a professional instead of a community-based, and maybe talked about going to the community for the identifiers to give to more of a professional company or a professional contest to say, okay, these are the 5 factors that we want to represent St. Charles, create a logo using that kind of thing. So that's why we increased it. We added the community leadership appreciation event. So council had talked about a volunteer appreciation event. There's a lot of individuals in the municipality that aren't considered volunteers. So your turbos, all that kind of stuff, they're not really volunteers. So that's why we called it community leadership appreciation event. So that's essentially your volunteers. So that's a new item that we put in this year. The 2026 election is happening. So you'll see that there's an expense of $20,000, but you also see that there's a revenue increase, or revenue of $20,000 from our reserve. Okay, so really the net is only the $5,000 that we contribute every year. HR and legal added for the new contract negotiations, and then 5 new Microsoft tablets for the new council term. So we decided not to buy laptops for the new council. I'm not sure how much you guys use actual laptop for a laptop function, or is it a tablet just okay for reviewing your agendas and meetings and stuff like that. So that's why we put that in there to lower the cost. Any questions about council?
Nope.
Okay. Administration. So we have an economic development officer starting in July. So the reason why we posted July, we were waiting on that second half of that grant, which is, I think we will find out in June if we're successful. We were unsuccessful the first time around. We were reapplying. So if we're successful, we'll start. So there's a half a person for an economic development officer in this budget. However, right now we only have half of the grant that we know that we're getting. Okay, so the NHOFC is the only one that's included in the revenue. I do not have any revenue for the potential other grant. So right now your expenses exceed your revenue for this position right now. We have applied for an office summer student this year to help with the operations manager. The septic feasibility study. At the previous council meeting, Aqua came and presented to council their findings, and they talked about a study or studies that may need to happen, what we would need to do to be able to accept septage, and potentially a study about what needs to happen for growth in the septage and sewer, sanitary sewer system. So there is $150,000 that's in the budget for this. So in our building repairs, we have video cameras. Those have already been purchased. We have 6 on this building, and we have 2 that it was a package of 8. So we put 6 on this building. The 2 went to Public Works. I guess there's a couple that weren't working anymore, so we replaced them. Ceiling tiles. Unfortunately, this spring we had a pretty big leak. So a lot of our tiles got damaged. So we're replacing the ceiling tiles. Also the heat trace cable, which potentially was the cause of the buildup. So we need a new heat trace cable, and then any repairs to the roof to prevent it from happening again. And then eaves trough work, that all seems to be the main issue. So that was what our projects for the admin building is this year. And then again, board fees, I just want to highlight this, $923,729 is in board fees. This is your OPP, your DSAB, your MPAC, your Sudbury East Planning Board, and your public health. Okay, so that represents 18.56% of our operating budget, and this year it was an increase of 47,861. We reduced the legal fees to 25,000. Software maintenance increased due to security upgrades. Council was approached about this and council agreed. However, because this is due to security and we could put it through Safe Restart because it's working from home and making sure all that is secure, we increased the line item, but you'll see that we increased the revenue from the reserve. We're going to take the money to offset that increase. I've only taken 10,000 from the contingency reserve that we set aside last year for the OPP cost, and leaving 10,000 for 2027. And the reason is because when OPP gave us our numbers, they were capped at 11%. They could not bill us what they needed to. And in an email that they sent us, if they were allowed to, they would be billing 342,416 compared to the 217 that they were capped at. So I know that there's going to be a big increase for the next couple of years to get caught up, okay? So that's why I'm trying to alleviate a little bit next year too. Maintenance manager was postponed. We did not complete it in 2025. It is a project that we want to get done, but it's not one that we feel that we have time to do in 2026. So we're going to postpone it until 2027. And then we added a fuel reserve to be funded through contingency reserve due to the global economic situation that we're in. When we did this budget, the budget was based on fuel at the time in February. We all know what fuel has done. So we created a reserve. So all the individual line items and all the different departments are based on February's pricing. And then if we need to go into it, it will be in through this admin reserve that's controlled by myself, controlled by the treasurer. So that people don't just, think that they have all this money to spend. It will still be monitored saying, okay, well, no, prices, fuel has come down. We shouldn't be using that. So we do have some money set aside in for that. Any questions on administration? Okay.
See none.
Arena. So the majority of the arena hall rentals came from one community renter. And they will be changing venues. So we see that a decrease in this one. So when you're looking at the actuals compared to why we still didn't go back up to what the actuals were, because that individual is going to be starting to rent the community center. Insurance went down in the arena. However, the Parks and Rec insurance kind of went up in the same amount. So I'm thinking that when we did our insurance renewals, it was just more of a classification. We were refining it as things like, I think the splash pad might have been put under the arena category, but we've now got it in the right area. And then we have this structural report for the arena that we had discussed last time. If we want to make any renovations or move anything, we should need a report saying what we can and cannot do with that building. So we have that in there this year. Any questions about the arena?
Yes.
Just one, I remember one of the line items before for the arena, we had the repainting of the roof. I know it never got done. That's something that's still, again, floating in the background or?
So when we get to the capital portion, that's in
Okay,
there.
okay.
Anybody else? No?
No.
Proceed.
Okay, building department. Again, this is all outsourced by French River, and we get our portion of it. So the only difference that happened in this year was last year French River applied for that NHOFC grant for a new individual. They got their bylaw officer. They've trained the bylaw officer. They're staying. However, they don't have the grant, so that's why it went up this year. Other than that, the majority of their budget is labor. So a slight increase, the majority of it, I would say 90% of it was due to that not getting that grant. Any questions about bylaw,
None.
building and bylaw?
See none.
Okay, a cemetery, we added a ground maintenance, category for some tree removals that we want to get, done in the property. And then we want to install some snow stops and eaves troughs on the cemetery building. So that's really the only changes in the cemetery this year. Any questions about cemetery?
See none.
Community center, increased usage, especially with our program coordinator, position. They might be running some programs out of this, this facility. We have Lions Club that, has been very active in the last year, so they use it quite a bit. Same thing with our Connect 55, so the community center is getting used more, therefore it is expected that the cost associated to running that is gonna increase. So that's really the only change in the community center, no major purchases or changes in the community center. Any questions about the community center?
None.
No.
Okay. Fitness center, as you can see, our fitness revenues keep going up, which is great to see. Our expenditures are low, although we don't charge ourselves rent. This is just our operating. So no major changes, but there is a new equipment proposed in the capital, and this could be a reoccurring thing. Every year we buy 1 or 2 pieces of equipment so that we make sure that we keep our facility good and our equipment good so that people continue wanting to come here. Any questions about the fitness center?
Last year we had the storage cabinet. Was that purchased?
Yes, it was. Okay, fire department, you'll see that there's new line items for training center in both the revenue and in the expenses. So what this is we hold training center, programs, and we invite other municipalities to send their firefighters over, and then we back charge them. So any costs associated will be separate so that we could see to make sure that the revenues that we bring in is covering the cost of holding these events. So those are new line items. Incident fees, actuals may not be a true representation of what they are. So if you look at your actuals, you'll see that, oh, we build out quite a lot. So this is when we attend a fire, we will send the owner a bill. Not all of that is collected. One of those properties, unfortunately, was a severe loss. It was quite a hefty bill. Their insurance doesn't cover the majority of it. So the fire chief will be coming to council in the near future to talk about what the procedure and policy is going forward for these uncollectible bills. Are we still collecting them? Are we writing them off? What procedure it is to write off? Or is there another way to collect these fees? The grant that we got last year for the washer and dryer, it's continued on this year. We're receiving $16,500, and that's to prevent cancer prevention measures. So one of the things that we're looking at is building a clean room. So when you have your equipment that's all full of certain stuff like carcinogens from the fire, you go into this room, remove all your clothes so that you're not spreading out throughout the fire hall. So that's why you also see the fire department's building expense has gone up, is because of this expense that we're planning on doing here. Firefighting equipment is reduced because last year we had the washer and dryer in the fire equipment. We don't have that, so it is reduced. And then it's reduced even further because we had a discussion about buying bunker gear through the fire department reserve and not through the operating budget. And then that is done when it's needed, not based on the calendar year. If you have somebody coming up in February and you have money in your budget, you're not buying it early before their probation, it's available at all times through reserve. New radios, we have no new radios to purchase because, as I said, we got that grant last year, so all of our radios were replaced. So for this year, we didn't have a budget for new radios. Bunker suit repairs. I know that we bought the washer and dryer, but we have repairs that need to be done for bunker suit cleaning and repairs. So we get them out, sent them out to get tested, and if there's any tears or worn down issues, they'll fix them. So that's why that has increased. And then I guess we had quite a few large fires last year, so there was a lot of damage to some bunker suits this year. Parking lot is to coincide with the St. Joseph Street project. Again, this is something that we put in the budget in the past, so we're going to be taking it out of that WIP, so there's really no net effect on this year's budget. And then the fire truck payment, we had budgeted to get a loan last year. Due to the treasurer being absent, none of the loans were processed in 2025. They will be in 2026. But the amount that we put for principal and interest is being put against the principal balance. So we won't be taking a loan for the 600,000 that we originally would. It'd be the 600,000 minus whatever we budget in 2025. Okay, so that money is still being used. So it's lowering our principal, our original principal. Okay. Any questions on the fire department?
I see none. No?
Nope.
Okay. No questions.
Do you want to go? Or you want to stay? Okay.
7 o'clock, my target.
Landfill, so when we collected our recycling, there was a program that we got money for the amount of recycling that we put in. We're no longer getting that money. So what we do have in the budget for the fees that we have this year is because their quarters start, so I'm getting Q4 now. So that $13,000 is for the last part of last year. Okay. We're continuing with the new site construction. We did quite a lot last year. We didn't finish it. And we think that this is going to be a continual thing. So you can see that the prices have reduced from last year because a lot of it was the bulk. But it's still something that we're planning on doing in this year. Any questions for the landfill?
Continue with the wood chipper.
Yes, so the plan again is the wood chipper. And then if you see it in the actuals, it's actually more than what we budgeted. But we still budgeted the smaller amount. So what the director of operations says, whatever, if it costs us more to wood chip because there's more, then I'm going to be buying less fill because I have more wood chip. So whatever, if it's $10,000 more for wood chipping, it will be coming from her fill pile. If it's 10,000, that means she's got to buy the regular amount of fill that she would need. So that is something that she wants to continue every year.
Okay.
Although, I guess with the new potential waste bylaw or the landfill bylaw, and the charging for brush and stuff like that, we might not have as much brush also. So that was another factor why we're keeping it lower. Oh, any other questions? Okay.
Nope.
Okay, library. Their revenue, so they get some contracts or some grants, and their grants have reduced. So that's why their revenues have decreased. They've reduced their expenditures too. Most of it is due to payroll. So they've reduced their budget payroll. If council remembers last year, they had originally requested a similar amount to what they're requesting this year, but council came back and said, no, give them exactly what we gave them in 2024. And in 2024, they had used their own reserves, $10,000 of their reserve to lower their contribution. When we came back, council has said, no, again, we're going to reduce it and give you the same amount as last year. So they're still asking for pretty much the same amount as previous years. So that's why it's at the 74. So that's up for the council to decide. So just a few facts. So $30,000 was advanced on January 21st. This is just to get them going so that they have some cash flow. At the end of the year, we bill them for their accounting fees and the actuals for cleaning. So they put in their budget $3,200 for cleaning, and then at the end of the year, I bill them for the actual of our cleaner. So this year, I think for the cleaning was $1,900. So I'm not billing them the full 32. It's actually what we use. So they owe that from 2024. They owe $9,583.76 from 2025. And if the contribution that was presented on the previous screen, if I were to remove these two amounts that they owe us, the net would be $26,106.99. So once council approves this budget, I'd be sending them that in cash. When I'm going through their banks, The average monthly deposit is 1,705, but the monthly cash withdrawals is 7,640. So per month, their bank reduces by 5,934. And then if we're using the balance that they have at the time that I did this, plus the contribution that we're gonna give them, they have about 9.5 months worth of cash flow to run. So it's just for council to be aware. And then in 2026, the end of 2026, they're gonna have roughly another $10,000 bill that they're gonna owe the municipality. Whether council says that they can have a year to pay that and it comes out of the next year's contribution, that's up to council. So that's just some facts when considering the library. I don't have the actuals for the library because we're not presented them. I'm not sure if they were presented to the board. If the board member knows if they were under budget, over budget for 2025. So I don't have the actuals for that. So any questions about the library?
I'd like to discuss this further because it's a lot of money.
Okay,
I'm not like the difference is minus 19% right now, right?
the amount that they're requesting is 74.
Yeah. So it's just over $10,000 more than last year.
And then, like you said, they owe us money.
Correct.
I'm not sure if the library should be a full-time position, to be honest. I'm looking at our adjacent, like the French River and Marks Day Warren, they're not open, but I think here it's 6 days a week, if I'm not mistaken. 5 days. And if you look at French River and Marks Day is open twice a week, and French River, if I'm not mistaken, I don't have my other book, but I think it's 3 times a week. And this is a lot of money for just the library itself.
Yeah.
As a taxpayer, I don't agree with this at all.
Okay. Anybody else want to make a comment on that one?
I know that they were, there was a little bit of money, I should have brought my papers, because we did have a meeting a couple of weeks ago. They were a little bit like under of what we submitted to them last year. We were talking about the days of the week, especially when the children come up. I know Thursdays is extremely busy there, like from 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock, the kids come up. I think there's
From the school?
From the school, they're very busy on Thursdays, I believe Wednesdays. There's some day, I believe Mondays and Fridays aren't busy, so maybe that's something that you wanna take a look at, if you wanna bring it down to part-time.
So we have 200 students at Marks Day,
Yeah,
and Wednesday is a full day for them. That's it. A full day of 200 students that go through the library.
yeah,
That's just to give you an idea.
okay. Well, like, I'm not sure, but like, I do know that,
I think
I
like
believe-
20 minutes a class, 20 to 25 minutes a classroom, it should be sufficient for a classroom to go there and look for books. 'Cause that's what we have.
What, okay, would it be possible for them to come in, like, I'm just looking at the fact that they've only got 9 months of cash flow remaining. Like, would it be possible for them to come and present what their intention is for the rest of the year?
So, if I may, council is the one providing cash. You could ask for whatever condition you want in order to make a contribution. So a direction from council could go to the board to make a presentation, because they might not be even aware of their predicament they're in. So we know it because we've been looking at this from the outside, that
Yeah.
the reserve was being used every year. So I would recommend to council to make it ask the library to come and make a presentation, and maybe challenge the board to look at how they can balance the budget. Unlike similar what we do with department heads, they come here and they can try to justify the cost, and to reduce the present to council, so it's more than fair.
Okay. Did you have anything to add? or-
No, I agree with that. I mean, we could possibly look at going to a 3-day week or something, like 2 days during the week, and limited hours on a Saturday. I know some people like being able to go on at least a little bit on the weekend, so I don't think that should be out of the question. Yeah.
Anything to add, Councillor Lachance?
I guess it'd just be maybe a suggestion to the board that they reach out to the school board and say, hey, maybe you should help us with some of this funding because, again, most of their foot traffic is students from the school.
And coming from the school in the same school system, the way it works in schools with less than 100 students, the secretary is allowed one full day as librarian. So even if it's a day that they're closed, I'm sure that we can figure some way that the librarian can, the secretary can come in and sub as a librarian during that school day. So it wouldn't be a cost to the municipality whatsoever. And they would be, and that's the normal procedure for schools with it below 100 students. So that rush day would no longer become our responsibility essentially. And it would save us some funds, some money. So anyhow, but I think if we can, I'd like to have maybe them come in, present something to council as to what they are perceiving as a structure to manage for the full year, considering that even with this increased amount right now, that if we were to grant it, they only have enough funds for nine and a half months.
Should we give them a target? Does council want to discuss that they want to increase the contribution by 10,000, or what's the exact number there? It's not quite 10,000. Well, you want to, if you're considering the full 74,000 as a contribution, or you want to set a target for them to try to reach? Because in 2 years, the treasurer of tried to reach out. Well, we reached out to the chair. We proposed to her that this cutback that happened in 2024 was not seemingly no increase, and to try to look at their budgets. But it is difficult to cut because you have to cut service.
Yeah.
But if you give them a target, I don't know if you're prepared to discuss the amount you want to tonight there, or we can discuss when we present.
I think, well, I'll let other councillors I'd like to see if they can manage to cut some hours. What would be, and I haven't run the calculations myself, but if we would bring it down to,
Are they 2 full-time or 1 full-time and
One
part-time?
full-time, one part.
but if, so they're open basically 5 days a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they would I'm not sure, I'd have to have somebody run the numbers to see what would happen if they would bring it down by, I don't know, a day, 2 days. What would they be willing, because I think that if that one day is the busy day is the school day, I think there's negotiation there with the school. They have staff there that it's just running a computer to check in and check out some books. I'm sure they can be,
Is the staff not also the recording secretary at the board meetings? It might be,
No,
no, not the board meetings, okay.
yeah.
The indexing system they use is the school indexing system.
So it is the school system?
Yes, because they offered free training to the librarian last year as they were changing their indexing system there in the library.
So it is the school, okay.
As far as I know, it is a school submitted system.
Okay,
On their website, it says they're open 6 days.
6
So I'm
days.
not sure if this is accurate or not, but they are open Monday to Friday and then Saturday
no,
from
no.
11 to 2.
No, they changed that after the new year, so she should have changed
So they're not open on
on
Saturday?
Saturdays anymore.
No. And if there's one day that I think it should be open, would be the Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
Maybe closed during
But
the
for
week
them to be
more.
open from,
Anyhow,
that's something that we need to look at.
so I think we would need to run some numbers, see what it would, but we don't even have their stats and their information to see what.
So is there any information that you specifically want to see so that they can come prepared when they present to council?
Well, Councillor Laframboise, how many days are the other
That's what
municipal,
I'm gonna make sure there, just,
like, and the other municipalities, do they offer more services through their library? That anybody's
Well,
aware?
we'll have the programming coordinator.
So French River?
Yeah.
they're open Wednesdays, Fridays, so Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, from 9 to
days.
4:30. And then,
When's the last time we received a report? Because we were getting like attendance reports and stuff like that from.
Our last meeting, we did have the stats.
So the
Okay.
only time that we received the report was last year at budget time when council had requested it.
Oh, okay. I thought it was a regular thing, but I guess not.
Because right now, they're in arrears 26,000, and that's what they owe us. But they're asking for 74, 26 of that's already spent too, right?
so then Mark's days was Monday, Wednesday, and then Saturday,
So they're open 3 days.
3 days.
same with French River.
Is Mark's Day, but
And
then
the hours are
Warren-
from 1 to 8 during the week, and then Saturdays from 10 to 12.
What about in Warren? Does it have two different ones?
Warren, yeah.
So Warren, Mark's Day,
Yeah.
same municipality, but two different
So-
locations.
I believe French River's like that too. Noelville's one day and Albin's the other. They have a library in Albin
Yeah,
also.
so Warren, it says, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 1 to 8, and Saturday, 1 to 4.
So they're it's probably full-time and part-time staff, but they're just offsetting.
Yeah,
Or
What
one
days?
staff at two locations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we don't have the two libraries, and I think we should be able to
Accommodate.
reap a benefit from the fact that we don't have that many libraries available.
And
Yeah.
also we have half the population.
Population, that's
Exactly.
my
And raise
point.
in half,
So,
Even for the students too, right?
because I like the concept of having at least a 3-4 hour block on the weekend,
Yeah.
and have a couple of other shorter days in the week. I think that's, if we want to give them something to aim for, maybe what sort of budget would that bring them? Would that allow them to to survive for the full year? And if so, maybe it's something that could be pursued.
And if
The
I'm not
following years.
mistaken, I think St. Charles is, are they open late?
No,
No, everyone else is open late except St. Charles.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're
It's
open, I
during the
think
day.
the latest they're open is 3.
Yeah, which, if people are
Yeah.
getting off work or whatever, high school students need to use the library
Yeah.
for something,
Yeah.
it's not available to them by the time they get off the bus.
Yep. Okay,
And should someone, reach out to the school board to see? 'Cause I don't think that's not a bad idea for the
That
students
should,
to have their own,
you have to be the library board, that would have to reach out to them, not us,
no, oh,
right?
yeah, I'm not sure.
There's nothing like asking.
yeah,
If the question would be generic, if the school secretary can act as librarian during their visit to the library, I think that could be asked in general.
yeah,
If it's negotiated, it has to be negotiated, yeah, obviously from the board.
okay. All right, so any more questions for the library? All right.
Is there a deadline you'd like this to happen? Cause I need this
Thursday?
for my budget. Just to give library a deadline saying that you wanna present next week, 2 weeks, a month, or whatever, just know that unless council wants to give a.
What's your timeline? What,
15th or 9th?
Depending on how many changes that you got, council makes right now, like, it's pretty easy to change the numbers if there's not too many changes. So doing the budget for me is not that hard going forward. I'm on holidays next week though, cause I was kinda hoping to wrap everything up and be like, whoo.
Horrible timing.
I know, right? But I got audit done in budget, so I'm like, okay, I need a break. But yeah, if you wanna give them like all of next week and then present the week after, and then when I come back, I take those changes plus all the changes we discussed now, and then I'm able to maybe have a meeting later on that week to hopefully finalize it, depending on how
I
much
think
other
it's the
stuff
same
council wants.
Yeah,
But I don't know if a week is enough to give them. I don't know what kind of data you guys want. But just to give them a timeline so they don't think they have a month to do this and it's like,
Yeah,
I'm in agreement with that timeline.
yeah.
So April 15th.
Because I think they do keep a stat, like every month, she does keep stats, so we can ask for the stats. We did have it at our other meeting, but I didn't bring it forward. I didn't-
the other thing is, like, I know they give you the minutes, and the minutes are included in your consent agenda, I think, but I don't know how detailed their minutes are. So I don't know if they have, like, the counts that you thought you
Yeah.
were seeing, but from when I read the minutes, I don't think it does, but maybe it's something that you maybe wanna have them include, so that council's aware of it on a continual basis.
I know, the deadline for submitting that report would be, for the following week's meeting would be the 8th. I don't know if we'd be able to give them at least until Thursday, or, I don't know. I know we're giving them only a week to get this information, right? Which, I mean, it's still a week, so they should be able to get something together, but I don't know if we need, cause that's
You need to make it onto
policy.
the,
That's
agenda?
policy, right? And yeah.
If you put it out, just to let, I believe that we do not have a meeting this month, so if you
Your
did.
next meeting is April 9th. And the only reason why I know that is because the financial statements came out, so, I had requested.
I thought we canceled.
She was under the impression that it's there because she's
Okay.
gonna present the financial statements to you guys on April 9th.
Okay, better check my calendar again, because we did cancel one, I'm not sure.
I
It
asked her
was April
today.
or May. Okay,
all right.
all right.
But a placeholder, I guess, can at least be made.
Yeah,
in
they can
case.
have a special call meeting, I'm sure, if
Oh, yeah,
it involves their funding, and
oh,
if they're
we-
gonna,
they
they're gonna make
would.
it happen, so
Yeah,
No, they would.
we can't worry about all that.
So if you submit it now, it gives them time to get everything organized for the meeting. Yeah.
are we all good?
Okay.
Okay. Next, Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, at a previous council, we talked about taking money from the Cenotaph Reserve to purchase some trees, for the memorial, event there. The grant revenue for the program coordinator and equipment is in here. Only expenses, 9 months of expenses for the labor is in here, and the associated 9 months for the revenue is in here, but 100% of the equipment, because I'm assuming we will purchase all the equipment right now and not over the whole term. We also have to complete the splash pad grant, so adding pathways and stuff like that. I think there was about just over $15,000 to be used, so we need to complete that this year. So you'll see that in the expense, but you'll also see the grant revenue portion in the revenue, okay? We applied for 2 Parks and Rec students. And then when you're looking at the actuals in the line item this year, everything's included in the wage, whereas last year we had like a separate line item that says summer students and it had 10,000, and this year it says none. It's because I have included it in all the different line items, because when we go in to do the actuals, when they do their summaries, they're saying, okay, I cut grass, we did this, so it's hard for me to pull out. Because it's all in the individual line items of, the 80 other different things. So I've included it in there, so it's not that we don't have anything when you're comparing last year to this year, it's just all in the regular wages. Obviously, again, like I was talking about, increased programming requires increased expenses. If they have a baseball program, they're going to be maintaining the baseball fields on a regular basis rather than just kind of at the end. They're going to having to cut the grass more regular. If we're having the a soccer program, like you can't have the grass too long. If they're going to be using the facilities, if it's on a rainy day, or we're having sports related activities, so there'll obviously be more expense there too. Again, we put $10,000 to change the elevation of the boat launch at Sawmill Bay. And then because of Sawmill Bay, we need to increase maintenance, so we will have to send staff members there to clean up the park, empty the garbage on a regular basis. So a lot more time is required to do that kind of stuff. Any questions on Parks and Recreation?
I guess that's where I was wondering why we can't take the grant of us put aside instead of for that boat launch?
We can, but last year you spent about $20,000. That wasn't include the budget, so I will be asking council to take the IMP from there to cover what we spent in 2025.
Okay, so it is spent then.
Yes.
Because I asked prior and you said no.
Sorry, I misunderstood. So yes, you guys, it was spent. It wasn't in the budget, but it still went forward in 2025. So I will have to use those funds because it wasn't in the budget. And when it was proposed, when it went to council, it wasn't asked where the funds are coming from. So if it's not in the budget, we should be saying, this isn't in the budget, I'd like to take it from reserve, I'd like to take it from a loan, I want to take it from this line item. A few projects weren't done like that last year.
I have just one question, like for the increased maintenance for Sawmill Bay, did you use the fact that maybe we weren't going to have the maintenance for this library?
So,
Not the maintenance, but the janitorial?
So essentially what we've done is our wages stay our wages, right? And then we break down saying, okay, 20% is going here, 10% is going
Okay.
here, whatever.
Okay,
So
it's
the
just
same
an
amount.
allocation. Okay.
Yes, it's just allocated. We've allocated more time to that and less time to the school.
Okay, got it.
I just, oh,
No, go ahead.
okay, I'm just wondering, this change elevation, for the boat launch at Sawmill Bay, there's people under the impression that they can bring like a 16-foot boat down there. And I've seen it, and you can't, I think,
You've seen it recently?
I haven't seen it recently, but when I seen it last year before I don't know, did they widen it? Are you able, what size of boat are you even able to put down there right now?
I am unaware of that information. I don't know if the CAO or we'll have to defer
Are you aware?
The
to.
CEO
Denny?
know?
So my understanding, I did ask the same question, director of operation, they apparently were backing up the big dump trucks down that ramp. It's just, at the end of the ramp, it's very steep, so if you have a smaller car with a heavier boat, it'll be difficult to go back up. So the actual is to level it off, but if you're, putting the cabin cruiser is yet to be tested, I doubt that anything over 20 feet should be put there, but it's meant hopefully to accommodate up to that, and we rarely have bigger boats than that. It's not been tested, for the bigger boats, but it's just, I know right now it's
Yeah,
super steep.
the elevation was really steep
But
when I seen it. and
they
I know-
blasted, since then?
They what?
They blasted.
They blasted it? Okay.
No,
Wasn't
so
that where?
There was two spots that were steep, right before you got to the turnaround, it was a very steep angle, so anyone walking, had to basically hike up the little hill, that had to be removed. The one going to the water is a fair slope, except there's no like little transition to the water that we're missing right now. Right now, you're going back straight into the lake, and if there's any bit of mud in the water, where the wheels are, the car or the pickup truck will struggle to pull it back out. So it's just to give it that little angle on the bottom.
Okay,
I'll go on this.
and
one.
that's on the,
Check it out.
that's gonna be done this summer?
That's, she figures, that $10,000 is worth of gravel. They're gonna back up, dump it, level it. We have permission to go in the water up to, I think it's 20 feet, but I think it's 20 meters. It actually is 20 meters, but we barely went in a few meters. But that is missing, and they just ran out of time. It was at the permits are very strict. I think it was October 31st came, and they had to stop, and they stopped that day.
And we can start at what time again this year?
June 5th, July 15th.
Okay, July.
So you can still put a boat in, but it'll be at, look at the hill before you back up.
Excuse is gone.
At your own risk. Maybe we should put a sign there.
Yeah, yeah, a steep grade, and please use judgment.
Okay.
So how much did we spend, how much was our grant to do Sawmill Bay, and how much has it cost us so far?
We received $20,000 for the IMP. We spent over $20,000 last year, but we've spent for the last couple years upgrading it. So I think this project started 3 years ago. So every year we've kind of done a little bit. We originally received a grant. That's what started it. So I would have to get you the information if you want to know how much completely we've spent.
I'd
on
like
the
to
whole
know how much
project.
this project is actually costing us.
I know, I just want to speak to the, like, boat launch. I went for a trip there last year before they did the final upgrades at the end of the season. And it was a little bit tight going in, but they've expanded, like, they widened the road and everything all the way in. Like, you could still pull a truck in and back a boat up, like, I mean.
Like a 14, I'm just saying.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a
100%.
14 to
That was-
12 foot,
that was
14
already
foot.
doable.
Those are the type of boats that
Yeah.
I really like to fish in a bay. I'm not, like, I know for a joke, somebody asked me if he could put his, what do you call it,
Houseboat?
cruiser in, you know, his big boat, and I said, no, it's only made for like small boats, but I'm just roughly, I just wanted to know, like, if public asked me.
Yeah.
Is a 12 foot sufficient, 14 foot, or like I know canoes would be acceptable, kayaks and stuff like that, so.
I think it was doable before the upgrades, but it was just parking and, like, you know, the access was probably a little bit harder.
Well,
I mean,
the turnaround spot was a little tight before.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's what I mean, right? Like, it was doable, it's just if there was somebody parked there, it was no longer.
But anyway,
Yeah.
I would just like to know the total cost of what it cost us for the park.
Okay. Any more questions on this item? Okay, move on.
Okay, Public Works. So this year, council had approved going to tender for repurchasing of the new other truck. So in this year, we had the sale, or our hopeful proceeds for sale of truck 2 and a backhoe included in revenue to go against the operating. So whereas previous years, we didn't know how much we were getting, so we didn't put it in the budget, and then it's up to council to decide where they want to put it later. This year, we're pretty much saying any proceeds is going against operating to help this year. 108,000 is gonna be bored from the asset management reserve, asset management plan reserve to offset the road construction borrowing costs. I'll go through that in more detail in the next couple of slides. In 2026, that work in progress reserve that I want to start using is projects that we didn't get completed in 2025. So engineering of the turnarounds. So we needed to actually complete the construction of the turnarounds before we can get the engineer to come in and tell us what we needed to do. So that was done last year, so this year the engineering is happening. Public Works building drawings. Again, we had started saying, okay, we need to figure out what we're gonna be doing with that Public Works building. Are we adding on to it, building new, remodeling and doing nothing? So that is something we put last year, we're gonna do this year, again, taking it from the reserve, so there's no budget difference. Public Works renovations, we had put in money to remodel the lunchroom and all that kind of stuff. That was not done. Again, that's something that we're doing this year. We're gonna be doing it, from the Public Work, the Director of Operations. They wanted to do it in-house, have our staff do it, not our Public Works staff, but we do have a staff member that kind of is a handyman, has been doing a lot of our stuff here. And then again, the GPS Trimble that we had in last year, again, is, we didn't purchase it, it'll be in this year, but it's in that work in progress, so no budgetary effect if it, coming from that, reserve. So we have increased a full-time permanent operations employee. 75% of their job will be Public Works related, paid at the Public Works wage, and 25% of it would be paid at the Parks and Rec wage. So again, whenever they're doing Public Works tasks, they'll be paid that premium. When they're doing Parks and Rec and other facilities, they'll be paid the lower wage. And that's in for a 9-month period. In 2025's budget, we had a seasonal employee to help with our projects during the summer. So last year we had a 22,766. This year with the full-time for 9 months is 60,000. So there's that differential of 38,000. But because this is a permanent position, in 2027 you'll have the full 12 months. And it'd be approximately 78,000. So it's just because we're phasing in, so I just want you to be aware when it increases a little bit next year, and you say, well, we had it last year, it's because it wasn't for the full 12 months. We've also applied for 2 summer students for Parks and Rec, or for Public Works. So again, that's 5 students, 1 for office, 2 for Parks and Rec, and 2 for Public Works. As of today, we have not received confirmation if we received them. culvert report, so our OSIM report is due every 2 years, so this is a year that it's due, so there's a 5,000 compared to last year. In our culvert line item for 65,000 is broke down to 10,000 for hazard markers. On Lake Road, there is a big culvert, and it is highly recommended to put guide beams on it for 35,000. And then regular culverts of 20,000 for the miscellaneous culverts that we need to use, so that's what makes up that 65,000. Last year, when we redid the roads, in the price for the roads, we had put an extra truck of calcium. So when we finished laying the gravel, we, sorry, we would go and take an extra truck and lay calcium on that road right away. So we need that extra load of calcium this year to do that road, because last year we had put it in the construction cost, and we used their CCFB and OSIF money to do that. This year we won't have that because we're not doing those roads, so that's why it's increased by 1 truckload. Just for information, our Victoria culvert loan finishes in June of 2026, and our Casimir culvert loan will finish in March of 2027. So we're gonna have to get a new loan for the 2024 tandem truck, so that's the truck that we purchased last year. So there'll be 1/2 of the year this year. So I've called Infrastructure Ontario, and they need our 2024 audit and our FIRs, so that'll be at tomorrow's meeting. So once I get that information, I can apply to Infrastructure for Ontario for this truck loan, the fire truck loan, and the roads loan, which we'll talk about in a bit. So I'm assuming that if we get these loans now, we're only gonna have 1 payment this year. And then you'll have 2 payments next year and 2 payments going forward, okay? So that's why that's pointed here. We're, again, the Director of Operations got the go-ahead to put a tender out, hoping to tender it now for purchase in the late fall. So again, once we do it, the loan will be in 2027. So there's no loan in 2026, but it's just to be aware that it will be in 2027. And then again, like I said, the fuel budget, we're all based on February, so the line items in this budget are at the lower cost. So just to be aware of that. So this isn't in the presentation that council got. Director of Operations provided this to me after budget went out. So I know that council likes to see kind of a tentative schedule of what Public Works is planning on doing. So this is what they have here. So I can print it out and then send you a new copy for everybody so that they can have it. Again, this is a tentative schedule. As we all know, things happen, things get moved around, priorities come up. So this is just a tentative schedule that they have come up with.
Okay.
They can't do that time.
Okay, we'll have to talk to her.
Just noticing that Sawmill Bay Park is in May, so I don't think we can do it at that time.
Yeah, if we can't do it until July, it'll have to be mid-July then. Any questions about Public Works before we get into the big talk about the roads?
It's just the washroom and bench.
It's a seasonal road, the roads itself will be soft, they're hauling in a heavy load, so they'll might destroy the road, so just think May might be a bit early.
Okay. Councilor Framboise?
No, I'm just looking, you mentioned Sawmill Bay, but I think it's just to put the washroom and bench.
No, above it is launch.
Yeah, week
Week
two.
2.
I know it's really small. It says
Figure out-
sidewalk
figure out
road
the
sweeping.
Oh, the second week.
The
Yeah,
second week, yeah.
sidewalk /
I
road
see it now.
sweeping,
Third week,
Sawmill Bay
second
Park.
week,
Yeah.
It's not gonna be.
Sorry,
hard.
yeah.
Any more questions?
There's nothing for Lake Road in there?
I believe that's the culvert, like the ditching, I think there's still more ditching that needs to be done at Lake Road. But I don't believe we're doing any like gravel of Lake Road. It's just the kind of cleanup that we've been doing the last couple of years.
It's probably in the June grading like, cause.
No, I'm just curious, the ditching and stuff, if it's Lake Road. You don't know?
Yeah, there's no, I don't think there's any road specific,
No,
no, there's nothing road specific in there, so.
I can ask the director of operations specifically for Lake Road. Is that what you like to?
yeah. Because we do have something for, culvert guide beams and stuff. Lake Road culvert. Okay, yeah.
But the culvert guide beams are,
No,
is that a
it's the,
contracted,
would be
item?
contract, right?
As in contracted item is in?
Like, is it,
Yes,
installed
yes, it-
municipally?
Okay.
Yeah, it's like guide rails, we'll be, asking.
So it's not public works?
No.
Okay.
Okay, any more questions? No, okay,
Okay.
move on.
So now we're gonna talk about the road reconstruction. To kind of ease in to helping pay for, the road reconstruction. I've kind of come up with this, 5-year plan to kind of get us to the point where we need to go to. Okay, so our loan, is gonna be about $4.7 million for the 3 roads that we've identified. And our annual payment, principal plus interest, again, based on 4.5%. Could be higher, could be lower, depending on what this world is gonna be doing. But our average annual price of repayment is gonna be $360,000. Obviously, that's quite a huge amount to put on taxpayers all in one, so I've kind of come up with this gradual step in. So in 2026, again, we will only be having hopefully one payment, so we only have to cover $180,000. So I'd like to pull $108,000 from reserves, so which leaves an increase of $72,000. So this year, our budget will go up by $72,000. So that's approximately a 2.11% increase. Again, next year, we're gonna have the full 360. We're gonna pull $216,000 from reserves, which we'll be paying $144 for that. However, 72 was from last year, so it's really only an increase of 72,000. And as you can see as the schedule, it's just a $72,000 increase, which roughly represents a 2.1, 2.2, depending on all the other factors. So that we will have to increase our budget, no matter what, at least 2.1% for the next 5 years to cover this. However, since we're gonna be pulling out all that reserve money to kind of slowly get us to that point, we're gonna have to repay it back. Okay, so here we're gonna repay it, so our operating expense is that $360,000 that we have for our loan. We're gonna pay back the reserve, $36,000 in year 1. So our total operating is gonna be $396. And as you can see in year 2, we're gonna be increasing it by $36,000. So, and by the end of the 5 years, that $540,000 that we've taken out will be paid back. And then that, after that 5 years, that represents roughly a 1% increase. Okay, so we're kind of saying for the next 10 years, we're kind of stuck with these payments. And this is on top of the 1.7% that is suggested for asset management. So this does not include any operating increases or board increases or anything like that. Again, if council wants a different payback term or shorter, longer, heavier in the front, lower in the back, whatever, this is just something that I came up with to kind of slowly put it in. Any questions about that?
No? Nobody has questions?
Well, we're 20 years old, pay it back though, right? That's what
20 years,
we're
yeah,
looking at,
so 20 years to pay back the loan, so we'll have that 360,000 on, but you won't have that extra, like, that $36,000 will be gone.
Yeah, for first 5 years.
Yeah.
After that's gone, carry on through.
So that, yeah, that 5 years is just to pay ourselves back for
Yeah.
the first 5 years. Any other questions?
Any more?
No, we didn't win the lottery, I think, so.
It's gonna be hard to do the other roads after that.
And yeah, when we originally presented this to council, the budget that EXP had originally given us was 4.2. When we went to tender, it was at 4.7, so it was $500,000 more than what EXP had originally came up with. So when we presented and we were talking about that 6.5% that we were talking about then, that was based on that 4.2 million. And then also that was based on also, every couple years doing a road, but we talked about the mobilization, we might save some money by doing all three at one. Okay, school, as we know, big changes in the school rental, so we have 3 months of full cost, and then we have 9 months of just library and cleaning. So that's why you'll see a dramatic difference. Other than that, it's still up to council, I believe, or is it operations about cleaning the library? If our staff is gonna be cleaning the library is gonna be cleaning the library.
Any questions?
Nothing else.
No? Okay.
Okay, Service Ontario. So in this budget, I know council had talked about having a 17.5 hour person, part-time person to cover, 3 hours every day or be here 3 hours every day so that they're in the thick of things and can get used to it. And then either on the Monday or Friday, take the full day so that the full-time, Public Works, Service Ontario person can also, get a 4-day work week. However, our current contract only allowed up for 7, so that's why there's a difference. Usually it would be in and out, but we have budgeted 17.5, even though our current Service Ontario only has 7. I know that we've reached out to Service Ontario a few times to talk about increasing this. As of today, I believe we still have not heard anything back.
Any questions?
So I just wanna make it clear, cause this is like 100% paid from the government, right? I just wanna make it clear because
Yes,
like, so,
but the contract that they agreed to is only for a 7-hour part-time person.
yes,
So I've increased it by 10.5 hours, so that 10.5 hours has to be paid by the municipality unless Service Ontario is willing to renegotiate and pay for that. So right now, I have the
7.
municipality paying that 10.5 hours. If Service Ontario does come back and say, yeah, we'll pay, then this will change. Or
and
if
the
they say we
full-time
don't,
is fully paid also?
yes, the full-time is fully paid and they pay 7 hours of the part-time person.
So this is a worst-case scenario.
This is the
Worst-case
worst-
scenario, they
Same.
don't negotiate, they say, no, we're keeping the
10.5.
contract as is.
Correct,
Yeah,
This is what, but if in a month, they say, okay, we accept to pay the differential,
correct,
then there's a switch.
yes.
did we ever get the actual from, the ministry, like the money back? Like, is that 35,000 that we got back for the year?
They actually paid us, as you can see, they paid us 64.
Yeah.
So they
never.
They have not
adjusted?
clawed it back. I don't know if they've clawed it back. I know that we've asked if they were clawing it back. Again, we still have not heard anything
So
back.
really, we've made money.
We made money last year because
Like half of.
we were half
So
the
where
year
is
we
that
didn't have a
money
staff.
going? Where is that extra money?
Right
going?
now, it goes into the general reserve.
Because really, that 30,000 would actually pay for the.
With
10.
their approval, though.
Pardon me?
You can't spend that money because it's not really ours until they say.
Well, that's what I'm
Take it
saying.
back.
Where is it going?
They're
right
gonna, they're
now?
gonna
'Cause
reconcile
it's-
that, I
They
think.
should have
I
did that
would-
in December, because in the
Typically,
contract it
yes.
states in December. then
Yes.
They should have done that in December.
Correct. So right now, they haven't asked for it, but I would hate to say, let's use it somewhere else and then them claw it back. Because I would assume that it may take a couple months for them to realize this, and we pointed it out.
Because I think
Gazebo.
it was-
You never know, but,
Because they never did the year before, year before. was
last year,
half, eh?
no, last year was the first year. It started
Okay.
December of
Oh,
2024.
yeah, it was December, sorry, yeah.
So yeah, they just kept paying their monthly fee even though we didn't have a staff, and they were paying for the staff essentially, because they would send their staff members to help us out.
Okay.
But their wheel turns a lot slower than ours for
It
adjustments.
would
and-
seem so.
Yeah. So maybe the process is ongoing, but
We
hasn't
might be a
reached
low
us.
priority on their thing, but they'll eventually maybe get to us. Another thing, I know last year, to point out in Public Works, I know last year we talked about that $7,400 that we kept putting in for West Nipissing to charge us to take those roads, and we were gonna take it back, and I said, I'd really hate for them to bill us. They billed us last year, and it was actually, I think, 8,500. So we had to increase it, so they eventually caught on, and they charged us last year for the first time in 5 years.
For what was that, sorry?
So the roads, on like,
Oh, yes.
Levy-
Muskie Bay,
Levy,
Muskie
yeah.
Island Road,
That's right.
they take care of that for us, and we had a contract, they just never billed us, but I've always put it in the budget.
Okay, so we had it.
So we've had it, and then we kept it in, thank God, last year, cause they did end up billing us.
Yeah. Any questions? No more questions? Okay, move on.
Okay, the water system. So last year, we had $15,000 for the operator's manual, so we finally got that completed. So we have that operator's manual. And no super major changes in the water system. Aqua's been doing a great job for us and no real issues that I'm aware of. So the water fees, again, we go through this every year. The last two line items are new this year. We received a grant to replace our generator. However, there's a portion that we have to pay. Our portion will be $25,175. So I'm gonna take this from our reserve and pay it back in 10 years. During our Casimir King and St. Joseph, there are some wastewater pipes that are being touched or replaced or some work. So that has to be charged back to the wastewater. So when we went through the contract, $42,852 was associated to wastewater. So that is gonna be taken back from their reserve, and then be paid back, over 10 years. So essentially
Sorry.
Yes, you can.
So essentially, this, what this is saying is every year we need to put $18,766 above what we should be to repay what we've taken out. So we all base this off a 2018 study that we got done that says this is how much money you should be putting away. It's kind of like an asset management plan just for wastewater. So this is why we keep using this study, because it's the only study that we have. So in that study, it said that our cost should be $28,778. My budget is saying it should be $108, so there's a deficit of $79,000. The wastewater income that we should be collecting is 86, so we need to cover that 86,000 of income plus that $79,000 deficit, and then the 18,766, which was from that previous slide. And then our new asset management plan that was presented a couple of weeks ago said that we should be increasing our contribution by 2.7%. So that's that 4,760. So all of those numbers added says we should be billing out $190,055 in order to meet our commitments to replace infrastructure going forward. So in order to get that $190,055, this is what we needed to do to the different categories. So first column is what we were proposing to charge this year, 2025 is what we charged last year, and the difference. So by doing this numbers, we get $190,168, so we're $103 more or $113 more than what the previous slide. Again, that money just goes into the reserve, so it's just a bigger contribution. Any questions? And another change that we made in here, we did lose a restaurant in the municipality. So that loss, obviously, from 1,500 down to 275 or the 512, it kind of made everything kind of go up because we lost that one restaurant. So I've adjusted it in there because I knew it was coming.
Okay, any questions? No? Okay,
The setup fee, that's just gonna be pretty much for,
new.
the new subdivisions and
No,
stuff.
so a setup fee is anybody that has access to be able to connect it. So all vacant land or any property has that. So that's kind of go right to infrastructure. So even if you aren't connected, you still get charged just an annual fee. And then if you use it, you get charged a user fee. So if you're a home, you have one house on it, you're getting charged the $275 plus the $510. If you're a vacant land, you're only getting charged the $275. If you're a duplex, you get the $275 plus 2 at 512. Triplex, 3 at 512, but only one setup fee, because you only have one line going to your property, and then you split it up.
I didn't know, I didn't think the setup fee was annual, that's where I got confused there.
I probably could use a different word, so setup fee, because setup fee does sound like a
Yeah.
one-time thing. But that,
Subscription,
yeah,
Frontage.
frontage fee, yeah.
That makes sense.
base fee.
Frontage is the preferred term,
Hmm.
at least in legislation.
Go on the download fee.
Any more questions on this one? Nope. Okay, move ahead.
Okay, a wellness center, we did have some unexpected repairs last year. We had replaced 2 heating and cooling units in the wellness center, so that kind of took up our budget for the repairs. So those repairs that were scheduled for last year are still on the table this year, but we did use our budget last year to replace those units. We also had a lot of water issues last year in the wellness center, so that also took up our budget. So painting the floor on the the flooring on the second floor. I don't know if the water issues got 100% resolved with all the different things we did. And then soffits and eave troughs outside again. Again, we want to repair the sign, the LED sign that was damaged. So that's pretty much the major differences in the wellness center. Any questions?
I'm just curious, the sign, like, I think it's being repaired and then it breaks, like, what's happening with this?
So we had repaired it in 2024, and then the lawnmower
doesn't-
ran over it
Oh, okay.
and
Doesn't
cut
last long.
and cut the power. So we have to redo it, and that was scheduled for
Okay,
last
so-
year, but we didn't end up doing it. And then my suggestion would be to build like a flower box underneath it, so that it, when we mow the lawn, we're away from that area. So some kind of barrier from underneath there to protect that going forward.
And just a couple of comments on the sign. The lighting is also not functional in that sign. And the digital board, we have some ongoing issues of it failing, humidity level or temperature level, it fails. So there might be some additional cost to look at to have a fully functioning sign, because it hasn't been lit up in 10 years.
And the
Oh my.
clock too, is it working, the clock? Or-
The clock is working. I think there's one space that's failing towards the building. Right now, it's not on time because of the power failure and the deep snow, so there's a bit too much snow to get to the clock. But they are working. One face needs to be fixed, but otherwise, it's par for probably a paint job in the next few years. It's pretty good shape.
Okay. Any more questions?
The roof on that was just recently done, was it not?
In the last 5 years, yes.
Okay, and they put the soffit and the eaves troughs on it
No.
at the time? They just left the old ones there?
Correct.
Okay. And the 2 heating units, did we not have a budget for that last year?
We had budgeted for it in 2024 to replace 3 units, but we did not replace them. They were to come out of reserve, and we did not end up doing any of them. And then last year, 2 of them failed, so we had to, because they were in rental units. So, like, they were in tenant units, so we couldn't not do it.
Okay.
Any more? That's it? Okay.
Okay, so capital projects, so in here it includes that 1.7, before we were putting in 1.9, we've adjusted it to 1.7. So in this project, total revenue, so any funds that we're getting from grants, loans, all that kind of stuff, our expenditures, what we're actually doing, and then that last item is actually what is being funded through tax dollars. Okay, so last year funded was 476, 199, this year is 551, 521. So most of that is our contributions, so what we put into reserve. So it's not actually we're spending money on things, it's most of it is put into reserve. So what are we going to be doing? So we're going to be putting our $60,000 in for the fire department. That's part of that 551 from before. So we're funding that through tax levy. Our asset management reserve, so that 416 was last year's asset management plan reserve plus the additional 1.9. So that now equals that 416, and then the increase of 1.7 is above and beyond, okay? So next year, your asset management plan reserve will be 416 plus 53, and then you'll still have 1.7 on top of that, because that's where we're trying to get to that 1.1 million. Our OSIF grant, we're gonna be receiving $100,000, that's coming from grant. CCFB, we're receiving 92,439.19, that's gonna be receiving from grant. At the time of budget, we did not have NORDS. However, with the provincial budget just coming out, they did talk about actually NORDS being extended for 3 years. I don't know what those funds are gonna look like, but it won't have any budgetary effect, because it's money coming in for a grant, and then we usually do it on a capital project. So it's not funds that we can use to offset operating expenses. But what it would be is if we said we wanted to, on here, it says Turcot Road, and we were gonna use CCFB, it may be eligible for, from what I understand, logging trucks do come off of Turcot, so we could use it from there. So we're just switching from one grant from another, so it's not really an effect on the tax rate itself. I don't know what the amount is going to be. It was just announced on Friday, I think, that it was potentially being extended for 3 years. Storage containers and the dome for public works, they'll be coming through the asset management reserve. The fire hall reserve to finish the project will be half funded through the grant, half funded through the fire department reserve. The sewer generator that I talked about when the wastewater, we'll be receiving a grant for a portion of it, and the other portion is coming through the sewer reserve that's going to be paid back over that 10 years. Fitness equipment, so when we talk about the fitness, we're talking about replacing equipment. That's going to be funded through tax levies. The new gazebo area, we received a donation from, or we will be receiving a donation from Case Alliance. So that'll be going towards beautifying the new gazebo area, trees, benches, whatever. They also donated to the pickleball fence. So a portion of the funds was in last year. So in all, we received 40,000. 11,000 was in last year's to cover the pickleball fence. The projects that we're planning on doing this year for road is Turcot Road, Terrier Road, and Monte Brazo North. And we'll be doing OCIF and CCFB reserves for that. Bedard Road and Richer Road, we're going to be filling in some areas there, and we received a grant for some of that funding, so that'll be covered by a grant. Arena dehumidifier, you noticed that last year we had 200,000. When we got the pricing, it was around the 75,000 mark, so we've reduced it to 75,000, and we'll be taking out of that CCFB, which we originally were going to take the 200,000. And then the arena brine headers need to be replaced, so that's 60,000. So we're going to take it out of that CCFB because both of those two combined are less than the 200,000 that was originally. And then the arena roof that Councilor Chance was asking about, $420,000. That's to put a polyurethane coating on it. No insulation, it's just kind of to coat it. And that's going to come through asset management plan reserve. The new tandem truck that we're going to be tendering is going to be coming from a loan. A plow and sander for the F550, so the new truck that we purchased last year. We would like to put a plow and sander on it. So that is going to come from the asset management plan. Purchase of a new backhoe, that'll come through the asset management plan. An auto greaser on the truck that we purchased last year. One was not on it, we would like to put one on it. And when we tender out the new truck, we will have it on it. So that'll be included in the 450. And then helical pads for the public works cold storage. French River had built a similar structure, and they had some issues with their foundation and stuff like that, so they suggested that we do this helical pads, so we're going to be doing that. A precision laser, that's funded through tax levy. The GPS Trimble, you've seen in the public works, so it's not double, it's just funded through there, so it's not, I'm not taking out of both, it's just because it was originally in public works budget. And then the fire department breathing air compressor, $48,000 from the fire department reserve. And then we're gonna be getting funding for the roads. So 4,775,000. For that, the loan for the 4,732,148, and then that 42,000 is the wastewater's portion. So they'll pay through that from the reserve, so that's why our loan is gonna be a little bit less. And then, the tandem truck, we're gonna be receiving a loan, the funds for it this year to cover last year's truck. And then we're gonna put that money back into the asset management plan because we took the funds last year from it to pay for it, because we essentially paid for it last year. So it came out of the asset management plan, so this is gonna put it back in it, cause we were meant to get a loan last year. Any questions about the capital projects?
Councillor Lachance?
Just, have one here. The precision laser, was right to the levy, that, what is it for? Or just,
I will have to defer to the Director of Operations. I'm not sure what project specifically or what scenarios.
yeah, like, is it construction level, is it just, laser so that they can check elevation when they do ditching, like, 6,000 seems like a bit of an excessive amount for that, you know, the construction levels usually, close to $2,000, and, lasers are much cheaper than that. So I'm just curious on that item there.
Yeah, I'll ask the Director of Operations to clarify exactly what precision, what it is that she's looking for and what project she's planning on intending to use them for.
And it's just the, for the reserve for the fire department, last year we only used 30, like, we used 30,000 of the 60 that was sent there, like, I know we had bumped it from 40 up to 60 for the, with the fire truck loan and such. I was just curious, I noticed a lot of the stuff, the spending for the fire department doesn't come out of the fire department reserves, it comes out of the general reserve, so is there any kind of a guideline we follow for that? Like, should everything not come from that reserve since everything's for the fire department? I'm not saying that, about the amount of funding right now, just more or less how we navigate through that.
So the only thing that we've taken out of the fire department for reserve wise would be the fire truck. Everything else was like through operating. So there really hasn't been anything to take out of the fire truck reserve.
Yeah,
Yet.
so that's what I mean, like, it doesn't give us like an actual representation of what the budget is for, you know what I mean, like, we're not putting in close to, you know what I'm saying, it's not easy to navigate.
Through your worship, I think what Councilor Chance is asking is the conversation we're having currently about how we manage reserve funds and having a general reserve versus having fire department reserves versus having public works. So this is a conversation that the treasurer and CEO and all of staff are having to sort of better delineate where money is coming from. And I think that's a much bigger conversation to be had beyond budget, but I know what you're saying, and this is a conversation that we're having at a management level about how we, where the money goes into the accounts to better track the money that's coming out. And it's across all.
Well, that's what it is, like, in the cash disbursements at every meeting, we have questions for, you know, okay, well, this was for the fire department, but it's still under general reserve, and then at the end, it's like, okay, well, we need to throw an extra 60,000 in there, but all we're using the reserve money for, and it was a fire truck, it's kinda, you know, just, the base reserve was always 40,000 we were putting in there before, but it was just for the replacement of the apparatuses, like, so we need a little bit more of a, maybe even a policy internally to follow.
So to follow the conversation, the ideal would to have one AMP reserve, and the AMP reserve would follow the schedule in the asset management plan. So whatever is to buy, and it doesn't matter the department there. And any other items that may go up and down, winter storms, event, excessive fires, that could be in a tax stabilization account. The treasurer is working on a plan to bring that later on in the year, which would provide clarity. One is for capital, that would be for all capitals, and this is basically bridging towards that, and that's why it's structured in like before there was a Park Works Reserve,
Yeah, the-
Arena Reserve.
They each have their own.
And sometimes it was used for offsetting operating costs, sometimes using just for one-time purchases and ongoing capital. But with the asset management plan, with a plan set out 10 years into the future, we can have one pile of money and we know exactly what's coming out. And then set up reserves for contingencies and then, or tax stabilization is a better term. So that is upcoming.
Okay.
So when we come back with a reserve policy, we're sent like the CEO was saying, we're gonna have an asset management. So that 60,000, that fire department reserve is going to be an asset management plan. So when you see on your cash disbursement journal, you see fire department, cause that's mostly all operating. Only the things that come out of reserve are like the big purchases that we talk about. So last year, portion of the water tank, because we did pay a portion of it last year, came out of there. There was $20,000, so I think 11,000 and something came out of it last year, and the other 9,000 is coming out of it this year.
80% funds grant.
Correct. So that will eventually, so all those three numbers, those three top numbers, are gonna be combined into your, hopefully your 1.1 million. And then,
You see, like, there's no other, in the budget, it's the only line item for a specific department getting its own reserve.
yeah, and the only reason why we did that is because the fire department had a couple big purchases coming up, so we wanted to make sure that we had enough funds to, because the fire truck was 751,000, but we're only getting a loan for 600,000 because the fire department reserve helped pay that difference.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, so annual debt repayment limit. So this is something that we need to start talking about because we are getting quite a few loans and some bigger ones. So again, annual debt repayment limit is the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing kind of keep tabs on the financial viability of municipalities, and they do that by kind of grading us on a few different factors to make sure that you can financially take care of yourself. One of them is the annual debt repayment limit, saying that you're not borrowing too much that you're not able to service your own debt. So what they do is they take your own source revenue, because if grants were to cease to exist and provinces and federal funding pulled all their funding and we had to rely on ourselves, they wanted to make sure that we do not go more than 25% of our own funding. That includes principal and interest payments, okay? So these are the current loans that we have right now. So our culverts, again, one is finishing in 2026 and one is finishing in 2027, and we have our grader loan. This one is a drainage loan. Okay, so we have to, we have a set amount that we have that we can allow residents to borrow through the Drainage Tile Loan Act. So currently we have one. We have potentially other ones coming up, but this is the maximum amount of repayment that we would have. So we have to kind of set that aside, because even if we didn't have anybody, if somebody were to come tomorrow and said, I need to borrow this money for a drainage loan, it would go against our annual debt repayment. So I got to account for that. So even though we're not at that maximum, that amount is already accounted for. If we increase that tile drainage loan amount through our bylaw and saying, I think it's 55,000, if we have a bunch of residents that come saying they want it and we increase it to 100, that number would increase because I have to take that portion out from them, okay? These next three loans, the 2024 tandem, the Kings Road, Kings Road, King Street, Casimir, and St. Joseph, and the pumper truck, the fire truck, are the loans that we're going to be getting this year. These are things that we've purchased already, and we're going to be getting the loans that's included in this budget. 2026 tandem, so that's the truck that we're going to be purchasing this year, but it's going to be starting to pay in 2027. And then another item that we've talked about is the tanker truck that needs to be purchased in the next couple years. I have put in here $650,000. The fire chief has gotten some quotes in the amount, because we're planning on purchasing it in 2029. They say on average it's been going up 7%? 8.5%. Year over year, so that $650,000 today came to 800 and something by the time we potentially purchase it in 2019. So just be aware of that. In this calculation, I have it at 650.
Can we put the water in the back of the public works trucks and truck it over that way? Dumping on the fire.
So that's just to keep, because we will, eventually when we get to that, we're going to have to be getting a loan for that. Our road petition, we have 2 petitions that are, at least one right now. Oh,
There's
okay.
one that came in yesterday, right?
Okay, so I only put in for 2. So if we were to allow for these petitions, I would assume that we would be getting a loan and just passing that loan on to the residents for that. So that again would go against our annual debt repayment, because this is a loan that we would have. Even though somebody else is paying it, it still goes against our balance here. So that gives us our total debt obligations per year. And then our 25% annual debt repayment based on our own revenue are the amounts down there. And then I've increased it every year, I think by 5%, assuming that taxes go up by 5%. Not saying that they are, but just for this demonstration, because the more your tax base goes up, the more you can borrow, kind of thing. So that's why that bottom number there, it goes up. So then your percentage, so that again, that's at 25%, that's your percentage. So that, we're kind of high up there. And then this is your repayment room. So that's what your interest and principal equals per year. As you see, that $4.7 million loan that we got was $360,000. So we're roughly around the $3.5 million room of loans. Loan room. You know what I mean? Now, in the last couple of years, we have purchased a lot of infrastructure, of vehicles and stuff like that. And with that, hopefully giving us a 10-year grace period of most, knock on wood, that we will start be able to pull from reserves, because we will have hopefully fully funded. But this doesn't leave a lot of room for emergencies or unforeseen things. So just want to point that out to council, that we're getting into that danger zone. Any questions on that lip? Does everybody understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
No? Okay. Next.
Okay, so our reserves, again, these are based on unaudited numbers for our opening balances for 2025. This is just based on what we have actually did in 2025. So our additions is everything that we said that we're going to put in reserve. And then our expenses are everything that we talked about in that capital spreadsheet where I said, how are we funding it? So anything that had something saying we're taking out of reserve is in this expense thing. So as you can see, our asset management plan, we're putting in quite a bit, but we're also taking quite a bit out. So that's our reserves there. Like I said, Safe Restart, the 5,000 was for that difference in the security, the 2,000 from our cenotaph. Our NORDS funding at the time, we had used it all. I didn't have any in and out because I didn't know if it would be continuing. So we have that. As you can see, the fire department, we did have some expenses that are coming out this year. One was the breathing apparatus, and then the other one was the balance of the water tank reserve. Any questions on the capital or reserves?
We're not getting nothing from Nords this year?
So as of when I did this budget, NORDS was not extended. It was a 5-year program. Last year was the 5th year. There was no information about it. When the provincial budget came out on Friday, they talked about extending NORDS for 3 more years.
Okay, so
But
we
no
haven't
other information of what we're getting or anything like that has been given.
Okay.
So if we do get NORDS, it'll be an in, and then we'll have to come to council to say what are we spending that money out, because it's not in this budget. So if we approve this budget today, I have no authorization to spend that NORDS funding, so I'd have to come to you and say, I want to do this, I would like to use NORDS funding, do you agree?
Okay.
Okay, so this spreadsheet or this pie chart tells you where your taxes are going in the dollar values for every division. So this is based on $100,000 impact value at a residential rate. So for every $100,000, if your house is $200,000 times everything by 2, 300 times it by 3. So for a $100,000 home, at a residential rate is $1,641.66, and then you just see where everything goes. So of that $1,600, $311 goes to protection. So that's your fire, your ambulance, your social services, council was 47, admin 302, and so on and so on. It's just so that residents can have an idea of where their money is going, so they can kind of figure out, I paid so much to wherever. Any questions about this slide?
The director of operation, is she admin or public works?
She's Public Works.
I have a question. Impact, I know they haven't changed nothing since 2016. If a house is actually sold or goes through a changing ownership, does that change their impact value, or it's just stays as is?
The only time the impact,
216 value or
yes.
rated, okay.
So the only time an impact value will change is if there's an addition or a deletion, but again, it is valued at 2016. So if you add a garage, even though it might cost you $100,000, they'll say, oh, in 2016, it only was $50,000. We're gonna put $50,000 on. So everything's based on 2016 dollar values.
Or if you build a house that costs you 500 and they say it's only worth 300 and something.
Correct. So when they do evaluate, like maybe in 2028, that's when everything will go to what current prices are. But your taxes aren't gonna double or triple.
No.
If your house value does, it all fluctuates. It's a proportion. So I know everybody's
Yeah.
afraid that, oh, my value of my house is gonna be 500,000 soon, I'm gonna pay tax. It's not gonna work like that.
No. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so obviously, this is a large budget and a big increase to the budget. So there are some cost saving suggestions. Again, these aren't recommendations that I'm saying that we need to do these, although people have called me a bah humbug for some of these suggestions. So postpone the logo rebrand. Again, it's only a $5,000 increment because $5,000 is coming from that work in progress reserve. Cancel public events such as Canada Day, Kids Christmas, the Community Leader Appreciation Event, and again, the associated expenses of what you would potentially save are next to it. Again, you could modify these and only do a smaller version or none, or you can even increase it if you don't think what I have in there is enough. It's all up to council. Obviously, if I'm gonna suggest canceling public events, we should cancel staff events. So the staff appreciation of $1,500. Reduce summer students from 5 to 2. So again, even though we get funding, it's only 50% funding. So if we reduce it to 2 students, we would save some money. Cancel the EDO if not fully funded. So like I said, in there we have the full expense for 6 months, but only one grant in there for 6 months. If we are not successful with the second grant, we just cancel it altogether. If you do decide to go with it and say that it's something that is important to us, then we would keep this in there and keep the budget as is. The septage and water, wastewater studies, the Aqua had talked about, there's 2 different studies in there. One is talking about what to do to get septic, to be able to accept septic, and the other one is what do we do for growth. So the range was about $150,000 for both. Is there cost savings by doing both of them together because they're here doing everything potentially, or is each one 75? Like maybe if you cancel one, it's 100,000, but because you're here doing it all, they're able to do 2 for 150. I don't know what the savings would be until we tender them, so that's why there's kind of a range there. Do you need to do both of them? Do you want to do both of them? That's up to council. Reduce the arena season, so open later. So we try to open for the first weekend after Thanksgiving. So we start our arena operations end of September to start building our ice and stuff like that. Do we postpone that, or do we close earlier and not, for March break? Maybe we close at the end of February. So in here is just some stats. So October hydro, so this is based on 2025. So October hydro, when the arena is operating, when we're starting up, so all of our equipment is running like pretty much all the time. cost us $450.52 per day. So on our hydro bill, we can go in and we can see how much it is. So that's the average per day. Before we started up was $44.36. Obviously, the weather's nicer. We don't have as much heat. Nothing's running really, so that's why it's so cheap. And then the cost in March, so that's 2025's numbers also, because I'm not fully done March. Operating in March is $591.68 versus not operating. So as soon as we shut the plant down, it dropped down to $368. Obviously, we have some heating because it's still kind of cold outside. We got to keep the building somewhat warm in for our workers and stuff like that. So you can see that dramatic drop from when we do that. So if you choose to open up later or close down earlier, that incremental savings you might be able to save. Eliminate the arena structural report of 15,000, so that's something that could be cut off. The Lake Road culvert beams of 35,000. It is not a must, but is a highly recommended by our engineering firm, but it's not a must. And then if we reduce the part-time Service Ontario employee from the 17.5 back down to the 7 that is originally paid, so it's 100% funded, is 16,999. Again, these are just some suggestions. Council can add more, do whatever. If there's something that you guys have thought of that we haven't, these are just things that staff has quickly put out to maybe make some.
Okay. Any recommendations, comments on these suggestions for trying to cut down the budget?
If you don't want to cut down budget, we don't have to cut down any of it, but those are just some ideas for you guys to. Or, again, like I said, there's other areas that we haven't discussed.
Okay. Any comments on this one?
I'm not ready to vote on a 7% hike, so I want to see some cutbacks here.
Yeah. So which one would you like to see?
I'd like to maybe see the septage postponed until 2027.
Both of these?
Yes.
Okay.
If we're gonna do one, might as well do both, because you're saving if you're doing both. I'm not sure if a year, I know we've been waiting for this, but I'm not sure if a year will make a big difference if we wait another year.
Okay. Anything else?
Students, summer students, it's nice to see that we're asking for 5, but we also have to look at who's gonna be monitoring these students and like who's gonna be in charge of these students, right? So I think we've always asked for 3 and always got 2, if I'm not mistaken.
We've usually asked for 2 and 2. In the last couple of years, we've gotten 2. So they're very used well when we're doing construction, because for the sign guys. And then during non-construction, they go and help with all the yard and stuff like that. So we would ideally like 2 and 2, because it would make all our projects go a little bit, instead of having to pay a full operations person or bringing in somebody else to hold a sign. You can pay your summer student. And then, like we said, we have a lot of potentially increased maintenance due to the program coordinator. So we might be cutting grass more often. We might be setting up soccer nets. I'm not too sure how that whole position is going to look. And then the 5th student, director of operations, really needs some admin help, just with the monotonous office stuff, that filing, calling for quotes and stuff like that. So that's why we put in. I don't know how many we got.
You would give responsibility to a student to call for quotes?
Well, if the director of operations says, here, call these 5 people and ask for a quote for this, and then just relay the information. I'm not sure exactly, but like it was just the monotonous task. They would obviously be supervised by the director of operations, but then you have your lead hand and your facility manager that is out on the field with it.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to see the Lake Road culvert guide beams to stay, and the Service Ontario not touch until we get proper information back. Because they've been pretty good at paying 100%, so I don't see why they wouldn't pay another 10.5 hours.
In the event that they do not obtain 10.5 hours within
Oh,
the
I
next,
just-
let's say, give ourselves, I don't know, 2-3 months? Do we want to maintain it after that, or do we?
I just don't see how we are going to manage to have a part-time worker at 7 hours a week to be properly trained. I don't see the logic of having someone 7 hours a week, 1 day a week, to be properly trained to do a job when the other worker is away. It's not gonna work.
Yeah. So that's why I also
Yeah.
think that they're gonna bow in there.
Yes, I.
But in the event of the potential,
I think we need to keep it because we've had so many issues in the past.
okay. Anything
For
else?
me, that's it for me.
That's it? Councillor Loftus.
Yeah, reducing the students 5 to 2. I think Public Works really needs one. I don't think the office would really need a summer student. Parks and Rec, maybe you can work one to work Parks and Rec if they need it, but have, I would say Public Works if they have major jobs, have the kids working there. EDO, if it's not fully funded, I would suggest canceling that. I don't
Oh,
feel
yes,
it.
that one too, yeah.
And the septic, I agree, maybe postpone the study for until 2027. And do we really need to have a structural report on the arena this year for $15,000? That's,
That is going to decide whether or not the gym can move, whether or not we can,
Gym, library.
anything else is gonna be, like, if and the only advantage to having that is if we do move the gym, if we do decide to transfer the library, after we have some regular people coming into the hall upstairs, then the grants for the elevator become potential.
okay.
So that's why
Okay, so we'll leave that one.
that one is in my mind,
The guide beam for Lake Road, I know that that's a safety issue, so I would say leave that. And Service Ontario, like I said, if they don't come forward with the money, then, I mean, I know that Service Ontario right now, we're operating 5 days a week, it's working out well, we've just hired somebody new. It's like, if this person happens to get sick, if Service Ontario, I mean, yes, we've been closed 1 or 2 days a week, we make it work. So if we don't get full funding, I don't think that it should come out of the municipal budget to support somebody. So, I mean, if they're saying 7 hours, I would like to see the 17.5, but I'm not willing to pay the extra 17,000 out of our money to support that.
okay.
And the logo brand, I think putting a sign on a vehicle right now is not our high priority. That could be taken off also this year.
Okay. Councillor Patsy.
The logo rebrand, had we,
Already paid 5.
pardon?
Paid 5 already, committed.
Yeah, that's, I mean, yeah, we're looking at possibly 10, right? So we have technically 5 already put aside for it, yeah.
Correct.
Right.
So that's why if you got rid of it, we'd only be saving 5.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it really moving too quickly this year, especially being an election year, but, I don't know. I don't, yeah, and nothing's happened with the logo, since, I think last year, so there's, unless there's something planned already, it's kinda hard to move forward with that. So I don't see an issue taking that out. The, public events, we don't have, how should I say, we don't have, many municipal hosted, public events throughout the year, but I think it's key that they, we don't wanna have too large a quantity of events. I think it's, better to raise the quality of the events. So I wouldn't see an issue if the community leader appreciation, not to completely get rid of it, but to maybe split the funding for that in half and maybe move it to Canada Day. Because Canada Day is already an event where everybody's already mostly all together. I don't think it would be out of the question to maybe host a little bit of an event during that Canada Day to highlight some of the community leaders. Yeah, I think that'd be a good way of doing that. So, obviously, yes, I'm not saying get rid of the full funding, but I think cutting in half would probably be reasonable. Summer
Just to
students.
clarify, cutting it in half going to Canada Day and the other half being saved, or,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah. Perfect. Same page. The summer students, I think it's we always ask for as much as possible, and we kind of take what we get. But I don't really see an issue with that one. Cancel EDO if not funded. Yes, I agree with that. Septage and wastewater studies. We keep kind of deferring that one, but it's just eventually it's going to come back. And especially if something happens in neighboring municipalities that affects our septage being able to go outside of the town. I think we should look at, I think we should get a little more clarification. Was that like possibly coming on in short notice, or it had to wait till we get to tender before we were gonna get clarification on the 75 to 150?
We'd have to go to tender. The
Okay.
range was just given as an idea.
Okay,
So we would have to go to tender, so we could go to tender for 2, we can go for tender for 1. Like I said, 1 might be 75, or
Or
it might
100.
be 120.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just kind of a range that was given. Or it could come at 60.
yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. It's a high value one, but it's one that, we're gonna see more and more of a need if something happens. And as Councilor Chance has mentioned before too, it's gonna become our problem, and we're gonna have to deal with it in emergency. So, I wouldn't think that one would necessarily be one I'd like to see go. The arena season, I think we saw a lot of good usage in it this year, even though the curling club wasn't operating. I think having it available March break also was a plus for many. I'm okay with the structural report and the reduced part-time service Ontario. So we're budgeting for possibly 17,000.
Yes.
If we were to go and not get the funding, but if we budget for it and we say we're not going to use it if we don't get the funding, well then we're just going to end up with a surplus at the end of the year.
Correct.
So, do we end up with a surplus or do we end up with a deficit if we don't budget for it? Like, I don't know. I don't think we should incorporate that one. Yeah.
So reduce it to 7.5 and
Yeah.
then only include it if we get
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
All right. Councilor Deschamps?
I think we're all kind of close, but not all the same. Kind of like what Councilor Putzi was saying with Community Leader Appreciation and Canada Day merger. Just your volunteers for Canada Day might also be getting appreciated while they're volunteering. But all the same, at least the recognition will be there. Staff appreciation should be increased. The reducing the summer students from 5 to 2 or 5 to 3, I think that's reasonable to, again, the last couple of years we've only had 2. Canceling the EDO, if not fully funded, I think this is kind of a hand-in-hand thing. I think that on the budget, we should allocate for 17,500, and if the Service Ontario is not fully funded, then you'd be able to, like if we had to, we could drop that position. Because the Service
Okay.
Ontario, right now, we're looking like we're adding 17,000 to the budget. That one there's 17,500, so we'll just put the 17,500 into the budget, because I think that that position, the EDO position is important to the municipality. I think it's more important to each resident taxpayer than the additional Service Ontario staff is, personally. So I'd like to try to keep that if possible. And if by means of doing that is allocating the funds for the one position, and if we get the funding for the other one, perfect, it's in there. If we don't, then it's sorry. We tried, but you're saving that 17,500 for the end of the year.
So just to clarify, you want me to budget like it is for EDO, but remove Service Ontario to equal 100%, If we don't get EDO, that 1750 goes to Service Ontario. If we do get it, it's bonus because, okay,
Like if we don't get the 16,999 from Service Ontario, I'm saying that we keep the EDO and drop Service Ontario.
gotcha.
But if we get the funded, then keep them both, and we're only, no matter what, we're only allocating $17,500, since
Correct.
you're saving $17,000.
And then if we don't get the funding for EDO, EDO is completely gone and that money goes to Service Ontario.
No, if we don't get the Service Ontario, I'd rather see the EDO stay than the Service Ontario additional hours. The extra 10 hours is what I'm saying.
So if we get EDO funding, that money goes to Service Ontario. If we don't get EDO funding, we don't get Service Ontario.
Well,
He wants you to.
no, so,
He wants EDO.
so.
Yeah.
I wanna see the EDO, so the EDO, if it's not fully funded, we owe 17,500.
And you're willing to pay that?
I'm willing to.
Okay, yeah,
Over Service Ontario, in a heartbeat.
okay,
If Service Ontario, I'm saying we allocate for one of them,
yep,
and if we only get funded for one of them, like one of them gets funded, then we can afford them both. If neither of them get funded, I would like to still see the EDO there, and just the Service Ontario dropped.
okay, so EDO is budgeted for half a year, so do you want us to wait until July for Service Ontario? Because I don't want to hire somebody from Service Ontario and then July find out we don't
So
have
what's the
EDO.
budget
If they're
for
gonna
Service
fund it
Ontario
before
right
that.
now?
I don't think it closes until June. So that's why I'm saying if we hire a Service Ontario person and then we don't get EDO, but you want it, we've already spent the EDO money in Service Ontario. So we would have to postpone Service Ontario until we find out about EDO, which we can do. I just want it
Service Ontario, what is it budget for? How many months here?
9.
Yes, Dennis.
I'm just to suggest, so we know Fednor is on board. The RA grant is the one that's a bit more difficult to attain. We're on intake 2 of 5 intakes. So if we keep at it, the odds should be by the intake 3 or 4 or 5, we will get that grant. So there's a potential if you hold out. What we're losing is time. Obviously, the further we get away from the strategic plan, it changes, but there's 3 more intakes to consider for council. It is obviously a priority, because if it encourages growth, encourages housing, new industry, then it changes our situation from a stagnant tax base where we struggle to keep up with inflation to a growing economy with more taxes coming in and not burdening the residents with the higher taxes. So I understand the need for it. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty much if we allocate for one, say, like, I don't think that the 10 hours of extra Service Ontario worker is more important than that for the same dollar amount. I don't think it's even comparable. So.
I just wanna make
if you
sure-
want me to word it as take the $17,000 off if it's not funded for Service Ontario.
No, I just want to make sure, because if we pass it like that, but the intention is to still go with Service Ontario, I don't want staff to go ahead with Service Ontario. So we'll just postpone everything until July until we find out about EDO and then make whatever decision we need to do then. And we're going to take $17,000 off the budget regardless of how we do it. That's what you're getting at.
One way or the other.
Yeah,
But my preference, I know it's not everyone's got the same opinion, because everyone else was in favor of eliminating that other position, but that's what I'm saying about it, and why I feel it's more beneficial to taxpayers, and I'll leave it at that. With the septic and wastewater studies, again, same thing, I know it's expensive, but I think that's, on this list, it's one of the ones that benefit most of the municipality. The most, it's more important of a study for all of us.
Yes.
I could suggest trying to go out and get a quote or a draft cost of a reasonable estimation, because the range is high, within the next few weeks. I don't know if I'll be able to get it, but I was thinking, just trying to reach out to an engineering firm that does these type of studies and getting a better estimate than the 75 to 150.
Yeah. And for both of them or just the one?
I would seek out the,
Either or one.
yeah,
Or
the
both.
septage minimum. What do we do with septage in the next 10 years? And what happens if there's growth in the community?
Yeah. Like the growth one, I think is like, there's gonna be growth, but like the original design was to handle all of the subdivision also, so, like, I think we've got a little bit of time to play with that one, but I agree the septage
Receive it.
would be priority.
So, we'll, if this is, probably will help council make a final decision at the next budget, I'll try to get a more accurate cost of a septic study.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, like that.
Did you budget for the 150 or the?
I
70?
budgeted for the 150.
Okay, so you budgeted for the max. Is there any way that you can maybe budget just for the 75?
So that, one of the suggestions, and that's what Denise is talking about,
Yeah.
is to get a closer, because I would hate to put 75 and then we go to tender and it's 100 also.
Yeah, you could say that you're riding your contingency for the rest or something, but then you're draining your contingency on the worst case Ontario, and you don't wanna do that either, so. The structural report for the arena, I think, also is beneficial for $15,000. It might solve some of our problems going forward with room, available space, and I don't know, again, with growth in the municipality and having places to actually know what we're able to do instead of getting to that point where, like, hey, we need somewhere to put a library, for example, that's in our building, or we need more office space for staff because so and so. You need to have a bit of a plan in place, and again, I like planning, I like the planning portion of that. The Lake Road guy beams, well, I think if it's not something that is it's not a shall, or it just it could, I think is safety is important, but at the same time, we don't have to. This is a recommendation from an engineer. It's not. I think that's one of the ones that can wait. So that would be 35,000 there and 17,000 from however which way you want to cut it out. And like Councillor Putze said, with adding the community leader to the Canada Day and reducing the summer students. That's it for myself.
That's it?
Oh, well, the only other thing I had to add is that, I know it's coming out of reserve, but the backhoe replacement, like, I understand it's aging, but man, we put a lot of new parts in that thing the last couple of years. I'd like to think that maybe it could stretch a little bit longer, but I don't know. We also got way more pieces of equipment than we do have operators, and we also have an excavator, and we have a loader, so how useful is the backhoe? I know it's quick, but if we only use it when we had to, kind of make it last a little bit longer and use our other equipment instead. I don't know, just food for thought. 150 grand there that we could be, you know, taking off of our replacing the reserve as the levied amount going back in, right? So.
Council can discuss that more at tender time, whether you, like, because even though we put it in here, doesn't necessarily mean you have to approve it when it comes to tender, potentially. Or you can have the debate here and I just take it off and we don't even go to tender. That it's 100% up to council. Or if you want more information why the director of operation feels that it needs to be replaced or what they use it for, so that council has, because I'm coming back to council anyways, obviously with some changes. So if you want more information about anything.
Well, just like in the last 2 years, or over a 3-year, 4-year span, we have replaced every piece of equipment in the municipality, which it's not. If we do it all right now like this, we're just setting ourselves up for the same thing 10, 15 years down the road, or 20 years down the road when it's all failing again. So we got to try to spread the cycle out, in my opinion. Try to spread it out a little bit.
With the asset management plan, in theory, we'll have all that cash anyhow.
Yeah, but if our
In
lending
theory.
power, it's about our lending power too at the same time. If you have no lending power, you
Yeah.
can't, you know, that backhoe might throw us over the edge too, so it's just.
Oh, for sure,
I don't
yep.
know. No, I'm done.
Are you done? Okay. So, from what I understood, the $5,000 for the rebrand, I don't mind having that one removed, because in my view, I think we should proceed with the rebrand. From what I've studied and what I've looked at other facilities or that have used I think they can all do it within about 2,000 to 2,500 to have the logo and all of the, and that's not more than just the logo. The logo, the sheets, the headers, and it's a big package. And I think after we have a new logo that would be approved by council, then we can start looking at changing items afterwards. But at least all of our forward-facing material on the internet could be updated. All of our documentation when we send letters out could be updated at basically no cost. But I agree that changing the front sign, that might be a bit more. Once in the upcoming years afterwards, they can look at changing those things. But I think I have no problem about dropping that 5,000 for the rebrand.
So just to clarify, you want to go ahead with the rebrand, but you want to keep it at the original 5,000, not increase to 10,
Yeah,
but still go ahead with the rebrand.
yeah,
Okay.
that would be my concept. I agree to keeping the two Canada Day and Christmas event. Community leadership, from what I heard, moving it in with Canada Day. A person could go, oh, thank you for all the people, but it's almost like a wedding. Thank you for the people at the back doing all the work. It's sort of it's a nice statement, but I don't think it's an appreciation day. So so the comment or the recommendation from what I heard was to cut it in half, the 3,000? Is that what you had?
I know, I mean, unless it's
No.
staff running this event, it's gonna be.
It's still,
It's still gonna be the.
yeah,
But the appreciation can be still in the form of a small gift or something, right?
Mhm.
From that $1,500, doesn't mean that,
Yeah.
okay, well, you're getting a vacation day.
There was no clarification from council what they thought this appreciation day would be. I didn't know if it was going to be like we had a supper. I didn't know if it was going to be had an event with just like cheese and wine or what. So I just randomly put 3,000. I don't know what council's vision of this, how many people it would be. Would it be 10? It would be 100. So depending on what council wants, like if you want to reduce it and only have a gift or come in at lunch and have, like, I don't know what
Yeah.
you guys had talked about,
Yeah.
but you guys just talked about that's something that you wanted to do this year.
yeah. But if it's at 1,500, like whatever the value that is there, I think that's what we work with. Summer students, as it's been stated by a few people, I agree. You asked for, I think we're probably gonna have 2 or 3, and I think that's what we should be budgeting for and trying for. The EDO for 17,500. I agree with what Dennis said, that we will probably have it. It's just, which one is it? Do we wait till we have that second grant before applying for the EDO? Or because between as Councillor Lachance was stating, like the EDO and the Service Ontario are both about 17,000, but both have a potential of having the grants, and that's where if we go with the EDO right away, and we say that's where we're using 17,000, that means the Service Ontario. If we do hire somebody, Service Ontario, and we hire them for 7 hours, I guess there's that opportunity later to increase it to 17.
So
And
go with the EDO right away. If we get the EDO, then you can increase Service Ontario from 7 to 17.5. Because you're
Yeah.
using that grant money
Yeah.
to offset the budget. Okay, I
yeah,
understand.
and
Not using the
hopefully,
EDO money, but I'm using.
No, but I just have
yeah, shoot,
one
yeah.
about the EDO. So this, we're talking salaries only. If we don't get the ROD grant, in the ROD grant, there was a significant sum of actual money to implement activities, especially in land planning, that will not be in this budget. So and essentially we'll have a person, but, no
Resources.
no resources to get a planner in to give a presentation out of several your lots, out to assist developers. So there's some money in the ROD grant that is for resources, which FedNor only pays for salary, and that is not included in this budget because we're just talking salary right now.
So the ROD grant was for services, resources.
The salary plus resources.
So if we were to hire, we would say we pay the 17,000, we were to hire an EDO, he would have a lot of difficulty to be able to
We would
offer any.
provide them with an old computer that we have and make things happen, which if you get the right resourceful person, because a lot of stuff is just knowledge, especially when it comes to informing people how to sever a lot, how the potential in the property that you have, and that works both ways. They get a financial from selling the lot, plus we get new people living on existing roads. That is one of the concept, assisting developers looking at putting subdivisions together. But you need the right person for that, which may be
And-
difficult.
If we do hire this person before we get the ROD grant, are we still eligible for the ROD grant or not?
I would say not.
Not even for the resources?
I will reach out to Isabel, because as you're talking, is if we start right away and we continue on the plan, but we cover like 2/3 of the cost versus the 1/3 which originally was there, or portion of it. Would they agree in that ROD comes in later on, and we continue like that? I think it's doable, but it would be, we would shoulder the beginning part of the extra cost, because the ROD grant is also 18 months, so we're stretching things out both ends, which is good, because you will have a 2-year position. But, yeah, there's a bit of unknown there.
Follow up with
Yeah.
yeah, if we can get more information probably we already have
Yeah.
a next meeting coming, so.
Yeah, can you find some?
For tomorrow.
It's just, if we have, from what I understood from yourself is that, like, we're intake 1, there's 4 more to come. We've already gone through the second intake,
So, yes.
we've applied.
The second intake is soaking right now, there's 3, 4, and 5. The first one, they told me this is one of their most popular ones. It's open to all Southern Ontario municipalities that want to do economic development. And God knows there are certain areas in this province that will get more attention right now because of what's happening in the manufacturing world, which they're all in Southern Ontario, but obviously Northern Ontario is important, so I'm just fighting for a little share of the pie. But it's a very heavily subscribed, I get there, John, there, it's a heavily subscribed and heavily competitive, and I'm competing against municipalities, we're competing of 100,000 people with permanent staff just applying for these grants. And they're economic, that's their profession.
Yeah.
And here it's like, we're the little guy on the edge, was trying to get our little share.
So
But I did a fair dent, so.
yeah, the odds are good. And the other grant, which, that we already had, is there a limitation, like, is it gonna expire, or is it gonna?
If, we will have to cancel and reapply if we go
When?
beyond this one. If we go beyond the June one, we would have to say, we stop and then reapply. Odds are we would get it because we're already approved, but we have to be open with them and say there's a definite possibility that we will not proceed if ROD is not approved. I would have to let them know. That would be only fair because they hold that money for us. They could get some, because they're funded year over year, hopefully. So, well, unfortunately, their base salary is still at 35,000 a year, and the treasurer informed me that doesn't cover minimum wage anymore.
Hmm.
So it's like their funding model is outdated right now, because the federal minimum wage is 18.12. And apparently 35,000 doesn't cut it.
Okay. All right. Having heard all of this, I would say that I know the EDO is a very crucial component, but I'd like to have a bit more information before I make my final decision. But I think that if the odds are good that within the next 6 months or so that we will manage to have grants for both, it would be probably better to wait for both to be available. Septage, you said you're gonna find more information. I think that's important. I'd like to just have the cost for the one as opposed to the two. The arena, is there a reason, when's the first hockey day or hockey activity? Because is it like
I'm not quite sure the exact dates, but I just want to clarify though that the $44 versus a $369 is quite drastically different. I guess that's just there hasn't been any heat on in October yet. At that point, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
And we don't have everything running. Like when in March, when we cut off, he's still in there. The system's still working a little bit. He's still removing the ice. He's still our
Yeah.
facility person is still in there every day removing it. I just took like the last day of operation.
Oh, okay.
And you can see it. So like if I went into April or May, then it would be back down to those lower levels. But you can see a definitive cost of when he switches the switch off of the maker.
the compressors?
No, system, whatever.
I know at the beginning of the year they're looking to get ice on the ice as soon as it's ready, right? So I don't think there's too many days that it's ready without there
They only
being
get 1 week practice in there at this time. So
To-
only one
at the
practice
beginning. I mean,
At the beginning.
yeah. There's not much. There's not much delay from when the ice is in to.
We try to make
Yeah.
it for the week after Thanksgiving. And then they start right away. They usually call us and ask us when our ice is going in. I don't know if we put it in earlier, would they come earlier? Because usually that's kind of the target that we've set, and then they just come right after.
Yeah. It's just, I know the arena works a lot harder, like during the warmer seasons. This year, I don't know, it's the warmer season does just want to show up. I don't know. I don't like this year, but like it's at both ends that if we'd have a savings, it would be obviously. Right now, it seems to be the better advantage would be October. If we could just smidge it back a week at least. The structural report, I think, is key to have it. Lake Road Culvert Guide Beam. This is all done by contract, right? Contractors coming in and putting that in? And is that a fixed cost? Is it a pretty good estimate?
I am not sure if the director of operation called, or they went off of what we got on Island Road. Island Road wasn't on a culvert, it was actually on the road, but, or she called for a quote. I'm not sure where she came up with her number.
Okay. It is highly recommended. However, we've never had it. I know you don't want to wait till an accident takes place before putting it in.
We got a lot of culverts in municipality.
I know.
I'll just say that, so you wanna start putting up,
Yeah,
beams at every culvert, you're gonna be in for.
yeah. I know I've been to BC. I know they save lots of money on railing
Oh yeah.
because they could have it all over the place and they've got it at one little corner there. That's it. All the rest is
There's no guardrail.
fly be free. So yeah, that one in my view also could be held off. And Service Ontario, I think we should try one more stab trying to see if they can up the ante And if they manage to do it, then we hire for 17. If they don't manage, we start at 7, we keep asking, and then we bring it up when their agreement matches. Because it is a provincial service. If they want to set it up that it's gonna be difficult to get people or to maintain a permanent staff, that is their choice for their service. So, and I know that the municipalities sometimes, yeah, if something happens, they think it's us, but it's the provincial government. So provincial government pays for their staff. And then if you think of more savings, throw it in there.
Can I just do one more round now that everybody's kind of had their say, because like, there's a lot of different opinions.
Bring up item by item, we can just vote on it.
Yeah, I was thinking, so postponing the logo rebrand or reduce, and the other option was just sticking to the original 5,000.
Yeah, 5,000?
Stick to the original 5.
$5,000.
Okay. Cancel the public events, we've gone from taking $1,500 from the community leader and putting into Canada Day, or just keeping $1,500 in the community leader event.
Okay, can I just ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Okay, because does the Lions Club not also put in money for Canada Day? So
They
So
they-
we're putting in 1,400, so,
We got a
but,
grant.
but.
grant, yeah.
We get a grant, yeah.
1,800.
So we get a grant and then we contribute more, so 1,400 is above and beyond what we get for the grant. The communities, or the Lions Club, and at least in the last year, ran it. We gave them up the hall for
Oh,
free.
yes, okay.
They ran it, and then I think we bought the fireworks.
Yeah, the
With
grant
our-
pays for essentially the fireworks, am I
Okay,
correct?
so what you wanna do is take 1,500 from Community Leader Appreciation, put it in towards Canada Day also.
So one suggestion is increase Canada Day to 2,900
Okay,
and have a volunteer appreciation event within Canada Day, and we would save 1,500 and not have a volunteer event at all. The
okay,
other option is keep Canada Day the same, reduce the volunteer appreciation to 1,500, because most likely the people who are gonna be volunteering that you're appreciating are gonna be working on Canada Day.
yes, okay, all right, got it.
And my thought is that if there's a value of 1,500 for appreciation, we figure out something for them with the budget that's available. And
So we're
Canada Day
reduce-
stays as
We're
is.
reducing 1,500 regardless, is just whether you're sticking in Canada Day or we're having a separate
Yes.
event.
Exactly.
So what would council like?
Canada Day.
I'd like to hold it as a separate event.
I think either Canada Day or, either Canada Day or it's, I mean, at that, how many leaders, community leaders do you have that you can host a complete separate event for 1,500? Like, are you gonna have a supper, are you gonna have,
Oh, it's probably not gonna be a supper at 1,500.
Coffee,
No, no.
donuts, and
like,
Wine and cheese or
an
something.
appreciation,
Wine and cheese.
Water and bread.
No,
an appreciation gift at that point is all that you're really
Yeah.
gonna.
So if we all agree on just saving 1,500, the details of
Yeah.
that could be discussed later. We all agree of reducing 1,500.
Yes.
Okay. Staff appreciation, where are we keeping it or keeping? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Reducing summer students, do we wanna wait to see what our actual grant is? If we do get all 5, do you wanna still keep it at 3 or 2, or just go with whatever they give us?
I want to.
Are we getting an answer in the next 2 weeks until?
Last time we got it mid-April, no?
Normally, the answer comes in April.
I know in the last couple budgets, we've revised it to actual, cause by the time we've revised it and come to council again, we've gotten our answer saying, well, we had budget for 4, but I reduced it to 2, cause that's actually what we got.
I think if we're having a review of it, we're having a follow-up meeting in the next week or 2, I think we can maybe wait for that one.
Okay,
I don't see an issue.
everybody?
Yeah,
okay
you
with
can
that?
wait.
Okay. The EDO, we're gonna leave at the 17, now, we can either get rid of the 1750 because we're not getting the grant, or leave it in and take away Service Ontario. as discussed.
That's a tough one.
Yes.
Leave it in.
Leave one of the two in.
Leave
Yeah.
the 17 for EDO and
Get rid of Service Ontario.
reduce it to 7 for, and then if Service Ontario comes back and gives us more money, then we would increase it to 17.5.
Is everybody in agreement with that one?
And then
And if.
EDO is only starting though,
It's-
well, the clarification coming on that one.
Yes.
Yeah,
But if
for
we
the
get the other
clarification.
grant.
Then it's just a
then
bonus on
they're-
everything.
Everyone's in and
Yeah.
we've got an extra 17.5 to spend on something else.
Okay. The septic, do you want more information on actual, closer values?
Yeah.
The
For the
arena
one.
season, we're keeping the same?
Yeah.
Okay. Structural report, heard some yeses and some nos.
Yep.
Those
Yeah,
in favor
Favor.
Keep
of
it,
the
in favor
structural
of
report?
keeping it?
Yeah.
Okay. Lake Road culvert, I've heard some yeses and nos.
Do you know exactly which culvert?
Rockport.
Okay, it is the big one.
Yeah, so, in general, whenever there's a drop off more than 10 feet, especially into water, they will do this as a standard recommendation. It also protects themselves from any, should've told you. So it puts the onus on the municipality, and they never put a shall, because now it binds the municipality to do it. So this is always the standard recommendation. It's a safety concern. We've all driven it, there's a little curve on top.
Yeah. But we also had the same thing on Bopala Road where they put that big culvert in and there's a drop and we were looking at putting safety guardrails and we didn't
And there's
because
none.
it's not mandatory. It was recommended, but it's not mandatory.
There's no
Maybe
issue,
we could put a sign just saying slow down or something, but like, I just think we'll open a can of worms if we start putting one here and we're gonna put
Yeah,
them
because we
everywhere.
do have that other one over there.
I will ask the Director of Operations to provide recommendation for safety measures. Reduce speed limit over the top, speed control, illuminated
Even
posts.
reflector lights or something. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
the,
35,000, you can,
You can buy a lot of reflector lights for that.
Yeah.
no, but you can put reflector lights on each side,
Yeah. No, yeah.
Lots of stuff.
but 35,000 is, we're not a city here, so,
So we're in agreement reducing it by 35,000?
yes.
Okay. Is there any other recommendations that council has that is not in this list that they would like? I know we would like more information on the backhoe.
Yes.
No, it's just an example, because like, again, with our landing power and everything else, it's a big item, right? It's another big item.
Anybody
That
else
was the
have,
only other equipment that we had forecasted for this year.
Correct.
And that laser level or whatever, but.
Yeah.
I agree if we can postpone it a couple of years, because I know, like you say, with 2 or 3 employees, we've got 2 trucks, we've got a grader, we've got all this equipment. When is the backhoe gonna be used? If one's on the excavator and one's driving a truck and one's on the grader, it's sitting in the yard, so it's something that's gonna sit there. If we could stretch it out a year or 2, because like Councilor Lachance said, with all the new parts, I mean, is it a necessity at this point? Because that would save us a lot of money. Like, we could still put money towards it, but
okay. So, any more items that you believe should be looked at? Anybody?
the
No, I-
library we discussed.
Yeah,
The
the library, they're gonna come in and do a
Yes.
presentation. Because I think they have to justify their, I don't know exactly what, I think they have to adjust to the reality of the funds that we have available for them.
Another thing I just wanted to point out, since we are in labor negotiations, I don't know what the final numbers or everything is going to be. So we have just put a guesstimate on all of our wage numbers, whether they are lower or higher than what the actual, contract comes out. I won't know until that's negotiated.
You shot 3332 or something, or?
We're just doing 1 year of this.
Yeah.
And if, just to put it out there, if, let's say, in the evening or in the next day or so, you review and revise and you come up with questions that you want answered regarding I think we should have that opportunity to continue and question until we come back to the next, until it's approved.
I did have some questions, actually, just
Okay.
overall. We had written, it was a 7.7 overall, percent overall increase, but the levy increase is about like 8.5 or 8.6. So from the 3.136 million to 3.4,
You're taking more out of your action and putting in this year, right?
what's that, sorry?
Taking more out of the asset management than we're putting in this year, I think.
Well, cause then even if you compare the actual tax rates, it's a 8.5% increase. And I
Yeah.
know we went over that, something similar to this a year ago, but, and I compared like all of them here, and they were all about that same kind of tax rate increase, and I just wanted to make sure that,
Yeah, so the way that it breaks down, because some, the ratios of different classifications, so like a residential is 1-to-1, so whatever the tax rate is, it is the same. Farmland is 25% of the tax rate, so if we say the tax rate is 1.5, they're getting charged 25% of that. Commercial is like 2.08, they're like all different kind of ratios. So the tax rates for each classification may be different. Some of them are 7.8, one's 8.1, one's 6.9. So the average of all of those is 7.7.
okay,
So it's not like you're getting a 7.7% increase and
yeah,
it's hard to explain. If you want, I can show you the Opta and it kind of breaks it down, and then it just has the average of 7.7. So that's where I get that from.
Is that a weighted average?
Yes.
Okay.
Does that help with your?
yeah,
Answer,
I just,
kinda?
and I don't know if I'm just doing my math wrong there, but I was just dividing the tax rate, the proposed tax rate by the 2025 tax rate. And that's where I was getting my 8.5%. So I don't know if I'm not, I mean, to me that was,
So it breaks it down, but like.
I did it for a few of them and I got 8.5%.
Yeah, so what happens is, that 200 or whatever we're getting, it breaks it down, so like 241,000 of that increase is coming from residential. $2,051 is coming from multi-residential, so it's not
Yeah,
the same-ish, but I can share this with you so that you can see exactly where the
Okay.
numbers come from.
yeah, cause like the overall levy is, 8.5 or 8.6%
Yeah.
increase. And then I know, like you mentioned, we're losing out on the, was it under commercial
Yeah.
restaurant? Yeah, and then, so we're losing out on that, but then like, it's affecting quite a bit, cause, the overall levy is also including the wastewater, correct? No? Oh, yeah.
No, they're separate.
So, yeah, so that's, on top of that, right? So, I mean, in recent years, we've gone quite a bit, into like almost averaging like 7%, increases the last 3 years, so, and then, the first year, of our term, we were like, what was it? 30% increase on our wastewater fees, like we went quite high with the wastewater fees, and then I know we had to kind of reconcile, cause we had some, we were lacking in that department, but it's just, and then we went to like a 20-some% increase, I think, for.
I think it was 25, last year we had a 0%
0%,
increase.
yeah,
And this year we have the 8%.
yeah, so, yeah, I wanna make sure we see our ratios right, and then, cause even if we're talking about a few of the, decreases, we're still only looking at maybe 3% or 4% savings, depending on what we, which would be great, but
Yeah.
3 or 4% on 7.7, would be better, but that much on 8.5 is.
Well, 1.7 of that is for your.
Amps.
amp.
And then 2% is, roads,
Mhm.
yeah, so, yeah,
No matter what, you're gonna be at 4, no matter
yeah,
what.
100%, yeah.
How much are you looking for the tablets? What's the price?
$1,000
$5,000.
each,
Oh.
so five of them.
5,000.
So the laptops are no good no more?
Typically, we will decommission them and then it will up to council whether they would like to repurchase them personally or give them to municipality to sell some other ways.
Cause they've been in service for 8 years, probably?
6.
6 years?
We bought them with COVID funds.
This one runs fine for me, I don't know, which is yours?
My machine.
Mine has
Well, mine
issues.
I'm having to start to plug it in, but
Yeah.
Yeah, the battery dies like a
Yeah.
flash.
Yeah, that's fine. Hydro's
But-
stupid.
My mouse pad doesn't work. My USB port on one side is dead. I only have one side that works.
Is that the water falling on it in the back office?
Maybe that's the, put it on the insurance, but no, but so mine is nearing its,
You can't
I don't
buy
know
a
how
new
long it's
mouse?
gonna keep going, but,
No, it's
Just
the
buy
mouse
it.
pad on like this thing.
oh.
Cause if you get tablets.
Yeah, but
like, you
why
don't have
why
keyboards
don't
or-
you just use a regular mouse?
You can use.
that's what I have to use. If I forget my mouse, I can't use my
But yeah,
computer.
you don't.
Surface comes with them.
Cause I never use that pad,
That's what we use it for.
never.
Microsoft Surface, yeah.
No, but if I forget the mouse.
The little flippy,
Is
Computer.
that what they
useless.
quoted though?
Yeah.
the floppy
That's-
ones there.
Yeah, that's just what we thought to save because a laptop's typically about 2,000. So we thought, okay, if I don't know what council exactly uses them for, like when you're not here, but when you're here, it's just kind of to review the documents. So you could do that on a tablet. But if you're using it at home to write your emails and reports, and you need all Word and Microsoft and all this stuff, I'm not sure. But that's what we were thinking to save some money.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
I got,
Thank you.
comments, maybe,
Housekeeping?
just a little bit, page 73 here, the Parks and Rec is still have, 2014 pickup wages and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So it's still a 2014 because we
Okay,
took the
fire
fire
truck.
truck and it's still a 2014. I changed them all.
Where are you going into, what section?
He was in Parks and Rec.
73 Parks and Rec, yeah.
Oh, Parks and Rec, okay.
And the 2012 pickup wages on page 80.
Oh, yeah,
Is that under Parks or Public Works?
Public Works.
Do I have a 0 beside it though?
Well,
I think it's just on there because there's a value in the in 2024, 2023.
2023 actual, yeah.
So that's why I kept it in there for the last couple of
There's
years.
zeros, yeah, it's zeros.
That's the old blue pickup truck. Eventually I'll get rid of the 2023 column and then it'll all be zeros and I'll get rid of all of it.
And those are all my comments.
I did better this year.
You're there. It's just-
It's very good. The budget binder was very thorough, thank you.
All right. So,
I like that the dehumidifier went from 200 grand on this.
any more last questions before we move on? The next item. 8.1, adjourn. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Lachance. Councillor Potier.
Moved by Councillor Lachance and seconded by Councillor Potier, be it resolved that the special meeting of council of March 31, 2026 be adjourned at 8:48 PM.
All those in favor? Carried. Meeting is adjourned.